then I can discuss.
I left my phone, I'll charge my phone enough tonight for this. I didn't even realize that. It just dawned on me. Okay, ready? Call into order the regular meeting of the City Council, Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. Clerk will read the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Here.
Counsel Della Sola.
Here.
Counsel DePiero.
Here.
Counsel Hanlon.
Here.
Counsel Marchese.
Here.
Counsel Matusky.
Here.
Counsellor McLaughlin.
Here.
Counsel DeFlorio. Here. Counsellor Simonelli. President Napolitano.
Here.
You have 10 members present. You do have a quorum, Mr. President.
If you rise and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, will you remain standing for a moment?
Yes.
Guest was Paul Kelly, who was our parking clerk for a good number of years. Did a very fine job in the city of Lynn.
Okay, so we'll stand for a moment of silence for Paul Kelly.
And as well, Paul was a wonderful man who we all know, and we also lost another good friend of the city, Ricky Cummings. He was a friend to many in this chamber, was a good guy, so if we could please add him to that, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Before we get started, I received a communication from Councilman McKinnon. He sends his regrets he'll not be able to attend this evening. He has a family commitment that he needs to be at. Okay. First of all, clerk will read item number 1. We have a public hearing.
Item number 1 is a public hearing offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president, that permission be and hereby is granted to Crown Castle Fiber to lay and maintain underground conduits and manholes with the wires and cables to be placed therein under the surface of the following public way or ways as requested in petition of said company dated September 3rd, 2018. The location is 3 Charlton Street, 2 Encore, Boston Harbor.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Mr. President, can we invite up the petitioner if he's in the audience?
Excuse me, could you please repeat?
We need a motion to open the public hearing?
No. Second. Councilman McLaughlin, could you please repeat what you said?
I apologize. Make a motion that we open up the hearing and invite up the petitioner if he's in the audience.
Okay, we invite the petitioner first, then we open the public participation, public hearing. So we have a motion to invite the petitioner up. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Good evening. Would you state your name and occupation for the record?
Good evening, Bill Conway, Access Engineering, acting on behalf of Crown Castle Fiber.
Thank you. Councilman McLaughlin.
I don't know if you could just briefly tell us the scope of work, and then I do have a couple of follow-up questions. So
Sure.
you want to just lay out the scope of work?
This is going to be for a diverse feed to the casino as a secondary route, going from Engrid manhole number 7, approximately 17 feet, to the Encore private property telecommunication manhole, and go into their conduit system.
Hours of operation is going to be, is this on-street work or is this in private property?
It's on the public way right behind Granger.
Okay.
So it's in the back.
Right.
Correct. So it would be in the public way.
It is in public. So what will your work hours be?
We're flexible. We can work whatever the city deems they would like for us to work.
And how many days of work scope do you expect this?
This should only take a couple of days. One day, maybe a second day, just to firm everything up.
Great. I'll yield the floor to my colleagues if they have any questions.
Councilman Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, just one question. You said you're going to dig, is it 17 feet along the public way?
Correct.
Okay. That's all. Thank you. 17 feet.
Any other speakers?
Mr. President,
Okay.
excuse with customary thanks.
Okay, excuse the customary thanks. Have a seat. We're going to open up to public participation.
Thank you.
Public hearing, excuse me. Can I have a motion to open?
Make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion to open public hearing. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, I'm going to ask 3 times if there's anyone in the room that's in favor of this. Is there anyone in favor? Is there anyone in favor? Third time, is there anyone in favor? See, there's no one responded.
Make a motion.
Third time is, hold on. Is anybody opposed? Is anybody opposed? Third time, is anyone opposed? Seeing as there's no one opposed, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing. Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Gentlemen, your pleasure.
Favorable action?
Second.
We have a motion for favorable action seconded. Clerk will read the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Eh.
And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
Okay, you have passed the item.
I do have a sign-in sheet if you'd like,
Okay, we'll take a motion for public, to open the public participation.
once we do that.
All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Is there anyone on the sign-in sheet for public
Now, for public participation.
participation? I'm going to ask if anybody in the audience feels the need to come up and speak on any item. Seeing none, Councilman Marchese,
Motion close.
do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to close public participation. The second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will refer to the sign-in sheet, please.
All right, item number 1 on the sign-in sheet is item number 27, Mr. John Tarco.
Okay, if we could have a motion to suspend the rules and take item number 27, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Taco, if you'd please come up and,
Would you like me to read that, Mr. President?
as soon as the clerk reads it. Thank you.
Mr. President, this is a resolution offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano that John Tarco of Encore Boston Harbor appear before the City Council to provide an update on the Boston Harbor Encore Casino project.
Please have a seat. You say your name and position for the record?
Good evening. My name is John Taco, Executive Director of Government and Community Relations for Encore Boston Harbor. I would like to just take a moment, thank you, Mr. President, councilors, clerk, for inviting me up today to speak. I'll make my remarks brief. I know you have a fairly lengthy agenda tonight and open it up for some questions at the end. Construction on our project is going very well. So the team's working hard, as you've noticed, driving up and down through the city. The building is up, it's been topped off, the glass is in place, the signage is up on the top of the building. The interior work is going extremely well. We've installed over 50 Murano glass chandeliers in the gaming floor. We've drywalled, most of the building is drywalled at this point. It's just the crews and the team out there is doing tremendous amount of work. Right now we're down to about 1,500 workers a day on site. We were at over 1,700 workers a day, so we're coming down from the bell curve, and we'll start to you'll see continuing tapering off over the next several months. Construction employment to date in the Everett project, this was as of a week ago, 185 people have been employed in the construction trades on site from Everett on our project. 5% of the hours worked on our site has been from Everett residents. Everett residents have received over $11.5 million in salaries and benefits from the construction of our project. And I just want to say and commend our team. This is not easy. I mean, Everett population makes up about 0.5% of the population in Massachusetts. So I think the community has been extremely well represented. We've been working hard. I'd like to commend the trades. The trades have done a wonderful job in working with us and helping us honor these preferences. As you know, the construction jobs are not as easy for us to control. We're sort of the developer, then there's the general contractor. The general contractor hires the subs, and the subs hire the labor and the employees on site. So everyone's done a tremendous amount of work to make this a success. I continue to hear stories. I hope that you have as well from folks. It seems like everybody knows somebody that's been working on the project at this point, not just within Everett, but as I go to Charlestown and Somerville and Cambridge and Medford and Malden and Chelsea, you continue to hear more and more of these stories. So I think that's been great. In terms of vendors, we're in the middle of a series of vendor fairs. We have most of our procurement team is in place, and one of their number one jobs is to make sure that we live up to our commitments to buy local. So we've met with hundreds of different businesses over the years, and in particularly over the last couple months. We have 2 more vendor fairs coming up. We just had one today in Chelsea. They've been very well attended from a diverse group of businesses, many from Everett. So we believe that this will result and bear a lot of fruit and help us achieve our goals. In addition, we've been meeting internally. I know many of you have probably heard about the We Save program. Several years ago, I talked about that sort of pre-opening and pre-construction, about how we would work with Everett businesses that may not be traditional sort of employees, goods and service, casino goods and services companies. For instance, a car wash. How could a car wash participate? Well, we have 4,800 employees working on site, and so it's a wonderful way to market your goods and services, your businesses, your restaurants, anything that you're doing in town to the 4,800 employees that are coming, hopefully many from Everett. We know many are already working from Everett, but also from the surrounding area. Let them know what Everett has to offer. So we'll be rolling that out soon through the local chambers, Everett, and also our surrounding communities as well. Operations employment is well underway. We have over 140 people hired on our operations team, procurement team, really the leadership for most of the different departments. And we have over 12% of those right now living in Everett. So I think this is, it's been a lot of work from a lot of people. We have a long, long way to go. I don't want to make it seem like it's done. But we have 4,800 people to hire. So what we've done is sort of set the table, and we're preparing to roll out a very aggressive HR and recruitment campaign. And you'll see the beginnings of that in the coming weeks. And you'll really see the big push after the New Year's, where many of you may be turning off your TVs and the radios and shutting down your phones and the internet because you won't be able to get away from us. We're trying to turn over every stone, especially within this community and within our surrounding communities, to not just attract folks that are looking for work, because we believe there's not enough of those folks out there, but we want to attract folks that may not even know that they're looking for a job and may not even know about the opportunities that we have to offer. And so entice some new people to become interested in the type of careers and the opportunities that we're bringing to Everett and we're bringing to the community. So that campaign will launch. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for individuals. So if you have a phone and you're checking something and you're involved in a restaurant career, the way social and digital media and everything works, these systems all see your interests. And so we can target folks for specific positions. Well, there'll be an ad that will pop up and will say, are you interested in a new career in this field? Give us your name, email address, and phone number, and that's it. We're not even requiring a resume at this stage. We're just trying to gain interest, and then we'll follow up and try to get folks to continue the application process, come in for an interview, and hopefully result in some more careers. So all of that, I think, is great news. We're working diligently to get this all done, and I truly believe that when we open, that we'll make you all very proud for supporting us along the way.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Councilor Matusky, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Taco, the lane closing at the Alfred Street Bridge, is that impacting you at all right now with construction?
Of course, the lane closing always impacts everybody. I mean, we have a lot of workers coming and going from that site over that bridge every day, so it certainly has an impact. We've been working closely with the city of Boston. Not that there's much that can be done, but that bridge will be closed. It's not a closing due to our construction. It's a closing due to maintenance related to the bridge and the city of Boston. And they are committed to complete that work and reopen the bridge before our opening in June. So that's what we're really looking forward to.
And the timing couldn't be worse, really, for all the work that you had. I noticed you poured new sidewalks, starting at the Rotary, heading toward McDonald's. And there's a patch of that's left out. Is that going to be grass or plants or something like that? Are you doing that work, your company?
Yeah, I just want to caution, I'm not sure specifically what you're talking about, but most of the road work down in that area is us. There's some Eversource work, but I believe around the McDonald's, that would be unrelated to Eversource. We're moving diligently down the street, replacing sidewalks, working within the roads. What you start seeing, and this should all happen mostly before the winter, is you'll see those medians come in. We promise to work with the city, work with the state to remake Broadway into a more boulevard feel. All that is happening now. So over the next couple months, you'll see a lot of transformations and lane shifts and things like that over Broadway. The end result, our goal is to have our work completed by this winter for Broadway.
Well, I'm amazed at how quickly this building went up and all the activity. I mean, we have small projects here in Everett. We have a park, for instance, it took 3 years to do, a playground park. And it's just amazing to see what your company has done here, you know, and it really does look good. Those trees that have been planted have really made a difference in that area. And landscaping is a big thing, especially in that neighborhood that's been depressed for quite some time with the mixed use that it had there. But I'm very pleased to see that everything is going smoothly, especially with the name change from Wynn to Encore. I mean, you've been through a lot, and you know, my hope is that Everett gets its fair share, and it's just unfortunate that that Alfred Street Bridge will be closed till April 30th, because it's really, that rotary is clogged up, and you know, I'm very concerned about that. But I want to thank you for being here this evening. You've been very accessible to me, and for that I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Council. Thank you.
Council McLaughlin.
Thanks, President. Mr. President, through you to Mr. Taco. Mr. Taco, thank you again. I echo the comments of my colleague. You have been really a true partner in this project from day one, and you've been accessible to all of us here in City Hall and in the chambers. And we look forward to that continuing over the next several months. My question is, road work in the surrounding, not just on Lower Broadway corridor in the Boulevard area, but surrounding work. There's rotary work happening in front of the Best Buy Gateway Mall. Is that your work that's currently happening over there? And then what happens in the surround? I know there was multiple surrounding communities that you guys had to study, intersections and traffic patterns and so forth. Is that work going on now, or is that what will be seen in the coming springtime?
Sure. We're well underway with all of that work. And that stretches from beyond Wellington Circle to Bell Circle, and from Sweets Circle down to Sullivan Square, and really down to Austin Street in Charlestown. All that work's well underway, with the exception of, you know, it's no secret, there's been some coordination with Eversource. There's a project that Eversource is working on in East Boston that goes through Everett and Chelsea. So we've been working to coordinate with them, which has really delayed the ability for us to get ahead of the Dexter and Robin Street parts of our construction work. We hope that all of the other work, the Broadway work, the Sweets Circle, the Wellington Circle, and everything in between, the Route 16 work, Sullivan Square work, the Sullivan Station, MBTA station, to be complete by this winter. We want to be paving before this construction season ends.
That is-
There may be a little bit work in the spring, but it's our hope, and that's true on property too. So all the big trees you see coming in, we want to have 95% of our landscaping done this fall. We don't want to be opening up this property in June and we're still putting holes in the ground and plants and everything else. I mean, we'll have plenty of annual flowers to plant, but we want to be done with most of the heavy lifting. So it's looking extremely beautiful out there on the Harbor Walk. So I think you'll all be very pleased to see the results when we're done.
Another question, Lower Broadway, will we see any additional buildings down before opening day? Is there any plans to take any of that other property down that's across the street? I know that you guys have taken down several properties currently. Is there any plan to remove any other properties on Lower Broadway?
Yeah,
Will there be any other?
we're continuing with the demolition schedule that really results from at the time we close on the properties. So there will be some more demolition, I think, for the bulk of it. The majority of the work has probably been completed, but there will be some other things you'd see.
Okay, great. No, I thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for your cooperation always.
Councilman Del Sol.
Good evening. It does look good down there. The construction's going on, like you said. My question is, people that go by there every day down 99, you know yourself, it's a madhouse to the Rotary all the way to Main Street. It will look beautiful, but my question is, the light sequence on the traffic lights going down 99, are they going to change because traffic is jammed up till you get to the bridge. Once you get over the bridge, it kind of breaks away. Is the light sequence going to change? Lights going to be added or taken away for the traffic flow to go a little better from the Rotary into Charlestown?
Yeah, all of the above. So there are some new signals, all new equipment's going in. New mast arms are going in. The footings have, for the most part, been poured. But as we're widening Broadway, we're widening all the mast arms. We're putting in all new signal technology. And one of the biggest things, and one of the reasons we're going all the way to Austin Street in Charlestown, is the Boston Transportation Command Center has never had control of the lights at Sullivan Square. It's been a dark spot in the city, so in the event that they need to change sequence or there's a big event or some instance that they need to make an adjustment, they have to manually go out, have live eyes on what's happening here and manually make the adjustment at the box. So what they asked for was cameras and to tie it into their system. So a lot of these adjustments will be made electronically with the ability to manually override anything happens. So running the conduit from Austin Street into Sullivan Square allows all those lights to be signalized and make that sequencing much better. When we're done with our work, that's part of what will happen. In addition, and I don't know the sequence of what this happens because I'm not the technical guy and I don't know how the bridge reconstruction ties in with this, but the City of Boston has made an agreement with Mayor DeMaria and the City of Everett to connect the Lower Broadway portion, all those lights along Broadway from Sweetser Circle across the bridge in Alfred Street into Sullivan Square into the Boston Transportation Command Center. So that allows them all the high-tech light equipment to be automatically synchronized with that entire corridor that runs right into the north end and North Station and the whole corridor. It allows for quicker adjustments to be made. I think it's a tremendous credit goes to the mayor's office and his team working closely with Boston Transportation to make something like that happen. I mean, you don't see that type of coordination every day. So I think hats off to them for making that a success. But again, I'm not sure when that all goes live, and it may be the conduit is part of the conduit and it needs to be run is through the bridge. So I don't know how that complicates this, but it all should be done by opening.
You having 3 lanes go, how would a lane situation going to be? I don't want to get too deep into this, it probably should go to a committee, but going from Everett into Charlestown.
So the road will always remain 2 lanes inbound, 2 lanes outbound.
Okay.
The widening is to create protected turning lanes. So if you're taking a left from either side of the lane, and we limit the amount of lefts on both sides that can be taken through the Boulevard Field, through the islands.
Correct.
So if you're taking a left, you get into a protected lane. Other cars can move around you. As you know, if you're down on Lower Broadway right now and somebody in front of you wants to take a left, you're stopping everyone behind you for what could be minutes, depending on the light sequencing and everything. So it can be difficult out there today. So what we're doing is freeing up through traffic so they can just keep moving without the left turns getting in the way of everything that happens.
My last question is, the tunnel going into Boston, ever to Charlestown, are we doing work on that, or is that staying like it is?
The city of Boston, as part of its Sullivan Square, Rutherford Ave reconstruction project, is in the process of finalizing designs. I think they're about 75% design for the new look of that corridor. They're committed to keeping the tunnels open. They would be making some adjustments. They would be, and you could go, I don't want to speak on their behalf,
Right.
so I'd probably direct you, just if you Googled Sullivan Square Rutherford Ave reconstruction project, the city of Boston has a very nice website. You can look at their plans, you can look at the PowerPoint presentations. They make them regularly in Charlestown. I think they're planning to have one in the near future, probably before Christmas, to sort of give an update. It may be worth attending. But all that information is on their website, and feel free to take a look. I believe that construction wouldn't begin until 2022.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for your
Councilman.
time.
Councilman Marchese.
Very quick, John, because you've talked a lot about the Sullivan Square, which I was interested. Every time I drive by, there seems like there's one pile of dirt, they move it from side to side, and some genius put a bike path in the middle of it. I can't figure that out, but down in Sullivan Square, they've worked on the parking over there. How come anybody ever thought of going up 3 or 4 stories there? You know, maybe accommodate people there, keeping them out of that little bubble in Everett, that maybe they could, you know, have a shuttle bus take them there. And have you explored any off-site parking where maybe you could shuttle people instead of eliminate 500 cars here, 500 cars there, and maybe just have a shuttle access to get into the casino itself?
Absolutely. So I think, and help me, I'll take the first part of the question was related to MBTA parking at Sullivan Station.
Yes.
There's a few lots there. The main lot, the one that we're doing work on, is the MBTA's lot. Okay. The work we're doing, they'll end up with roughly the same number of spaces. What we've done, and it's actually one of the ways that we free up the most capacity in Sullivan Square and get it moving, is we've reconfigured the flow and the function and the grades at Sullivan Station. So buses could now, when we're done, they'll be able to enter and exit without going through Sullivan Square. So right now, every bus that goes into that station is going through Sullivan Square and then going into the station. If you're coming from Somerville and Cambridge, you can get right into the station without going through the circle. If you're coming from Everett, you can really just skirt the perimeter and get right into Sullivan Station without going. If you're coming from the north, you can go down right into the station. So the work that's being done at the MBTA station is for the efficiency of the buses, but more so to keep those buses out of the circle to free up more capacity and more throughput. As it relates to the second part of your question is, are we looking at off-site remote parking? Absolutely. So we're working, and a lot of this goes into our MEPA commitments with the state, where we're looking at lots in southern New Hampshire and Worcester and southern Massachusetts. We're going to be running premium park and ride shuttles where folks can come, park, get on one of our luxury liners. We've already bid out most of this work. The liners will take you in, nice, comfortable environment, internet, the whole 9 yards. Ride into Everett, drop the customers off, stay overnight, stay for the day. Well, it doesn't matter. They'll regularly go back, bring you to your car, don't take you in. We're looking at a number of different lots like that. Of course, we'll run the water shuttle as well. We're going to have 4 boats that are going to go through the harbor with several different docking facilities, one at the seaport, one near the Marriott Long Wharf, and one at our site. So we're looking at all those different options. We're working with the mayor and in his office on a community shuttle program. So one of our commitments is to run employee shuttles through the city, and so how can we connect that? So I think you'll see a lot of good news coming out. We're continuing to explore more options. We're committed to getting people in here outside of vehicles, and so we're looking at a number of different options. We're subsidizing the Orange Line. We're running shuttles from Wellington, from Malden Station. Any way we can get customers here without having to drive through Everett and park here, the better.
George, and last question. Do you ever think of, it's like some location in Everett that you could put maybe a nice parking garage, maybe you guys would build it, run it, whatever would happen, but something prior to getting to that circle that maybe would house 500? I mean, maybe it's a double thing. It could help jumpstart, business in Everett, put some parking and also help yourself there. I mean, if you found the adequate land in Everett, I mean, could you put a 500-car parking spot similar to what they have in Malden Square? It seems like it stimulated the downtown area there.
I would think anything like that could stimulate growth. I agree. I think Malden's done a nice job to provide parking. A lot of that is also due to the transportation options, where people can come in, park when they get out of work, and before they get to their cars, they visit some of the restaurants. All those are great ideas, and that's part of what our community shuttle program is intended. Give some of our employees options to get on the shuttle, go visit some of the Everett businesses that are in the neighborhood before going back to their cars. No, we have not thought about a parking garage in Everett. What we've been doing is looking at existing parking availability and capacity. What are the available spaces, for instance, at Wellington Circle? What are the available spaces maybe in other surrounding towns? Look, at the end of the day, from a customer perspective, driving that close isn't ideal. It's not a five-star sort of experience. It's one thing if you're driving from far away and you want to park before you get into the traffic and the problems and get on a luxury coach and get into the resort before you get into the mayhem of sort of the more urban cities. It's another thing to drive all the way into Everett, but not get quite there, and to stop and then take shuttles and get to the property. So we're looking at options. I'd say for those shuttling options for customers, they're more located outside of the urban core. And then
John, last question. We probably should have had this in the committee, but I hate to.
Councilman, if you could wait one moment, only because, are there any other new speakers? Please continue.
One question. Where are the buses going to be parked? When they come in and drop the people off, obviously at the casino, are they going to go back across the street?
No, that's not the plan right now. We're working on a plan. Right now, we'd like to keep them on our casino site, so we need to work some details out with the Everett Fire Department and with the City Planning Board. So there's a few things we're looking at, but we're not sure exactly.
What do you estimate on buses a day? 100, 200, 250?
I'm not sure. I don't have that number.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, seeing as there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to excuse the customary thing. Councilman McLaughlin.
Thanks, President. One last question, Mr. Taco. The GE site, I've heard some rumors that potentially you guys are looking to put several hundred vehicles on the GE site. Can you touch on that tonight and talk a little bit about that potential possibility? Because some of the residents in that area are concerned they're hearing rumors on that.
Sure. So the GE site is a site that we've now put in a very nice River Green Drive. I taught my daughter how to ride her bike there before Village Fest. First time she took off the training wheels in the city of Everett. She went all the way around the circle without putting her feet on the ground. Pretty good dad.
Great job, Joseph.
You're welcome. But all kidding aside, so we're working with the city. The cities and the mayor have plans for 7-acre park that he's going to develop. I defer to him on what's happening there. We've broken ground a couple weeks ago on a playground. That's part of the playground relocation from the Lower Broadway area across on the power plant up there. We hope to open the Riverwalk soon. The place looks beautiful over there. Really, the rest of the land, when the original intention when we bought it was we thought we'd need some more land to relocate more businesses from Lower Broadway. The good news is most of the businesses have relocated on their own. they're able to move and make their own accommodations. And so we really see that as an opportunity for redevelopment, the right kind of redevelopment at the right time. So one of the things that we want to do is work with the city, clean it up. You know, temporarily, we have to figure out something to do with employees. This wouldn't be customers. But we could park employees in Wellington. To be quite frankly, there's spaces available there. Or we could clean this up, hot top it, create some nice landscaping, lighting, get employees to park in Everett that are on the community shuttle that could be open to businesses in Everett. And so that's sort of the short-term idea, see if a spot in Everett works. I don't think that our intention is ever to do surface parking there long-term, but if it is working for our employees, if Everett is a location that makes sense, we don't know where all employees are driving from, then we may look at something more permanent, a structure somewhere, probably somewhere else. While there's a lot of complications with that site, I think what the site is currently under some significant deed restrictions that are left behind from GE, which it doesn't even matter, the actual contamination of the site, almost nothing other than light industrial or commercial would be permitted there. I think that the mayor has a longer-term vision that would be a little bit different. We'd be happy to continue to work with him and GE over the next several years to see if maybe they could relax some of those deed restrictions. But all that sort of takes time in the process. You know, one of the ideas is that we could park some of our employees in the community in Everett and then bring them over to the site.
On that comment, I'm just going to say that I want to go on the record as I'm opposed to it, John. I'm really concerned bringing additional cars to the village section of the city right now. We have a charter school that just opened up that has a major impact in that neighborhood. We have the Adams School. Now you're going to bring potentially a few hundred cars into that same neighborhood with employee parking. It's a huge concern for the residents down there, and it's a huge concern for me, so I just wanted to go on the record. We need to work on that together, and we will.
Absolutely.
But I am
look,
definitely concerned about it.
Honestly, it's not that big a deal because the
No, it
spaces
is.
are available.
No, it's a big deal.
Well, I'm saying the spaces are available in Medford, and we could pull the trigger. The idea was that when employees get out of work, they'd be spending their hard-earned money in Everett. So if we bring all the employees to Malden and Medford, they're highly likely to be benefiting businesses in Malden and Medford, which is okay. We love Malden and Medford too. But so one of the ideas is, do you want employees to come back into Everett, spend money in the community, and be attractive that way? If that's not appealing to the city, and if you guys want to go in a different direction, we can. There's not much time. We got to do some sorting out. But it was one way that instead of flipping the site to the next developer, we've had offers on the site. There's plenty of offers out there. I think they were inconsistent with where the city was hoping to go. But we could always turn the site over and then move on and do some parking elsewhere, which would be fine too. So a lot of this, I think we should take maybe into committee, and we'll continue working with the mayor's office.
You need to work with us, though, John. You've talked a lot tonight about working with the mayor's office, and that's great. But we need to be in the loop as well and be at the table as well, because I represent the area. I'm quite concerned about potentially parking down there. But we'll talk about it afterwards.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilman.
Aye. Thank you, John.
Welcome.
We have a motion to refer us back to sponsor. Been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. President, item number 15 would be the next one to suspend and take.
Okay, I need a motion to take item number 15, please. Have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 15.
Item number 15 is a petition offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. It's a petition from B&K for an open-air parking permit. This came out of the Community and Business and Development.
Favorable action on the order.
Would you-
Motion to accept the committee report.
Oh, yeah.
and I would-
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
If I could
Clerk will
just,
read the
Sorry, Mr. President, just that we accepted what the recommendations from the committee, which is no more than 17 vehicles. I just wanted to state that on record so I can put it in my minutes.
Okay. Clerk will read the roll.
I can read the whole thing, but the report was to.
If you'd like it read, just,
Yeah.
we'll have the
So,
clerk read it,
just-
but no, we weren't going to, we read the item.
Just so you know, the recommendation was, very briefly,
recommendation
is to
was-
have 17 vehicles and not to do any body or repair work on site.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the restrictions I just recommended we required.
No, he said it.
Yeah, I just wanted to read the
Yep.
piece.
Yeah.
Just let the clerk, right, the clerk's just,
I'm just jotting a note, sorry. 1 second, please.
yeah, we have a motion for favorable action as amended, as recommended by the committee. It's been seconded. We're just waiting for the clerk.
Okay. Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Marchese.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin. Counsel Simonelli. And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President. You have passed the petition. For the petitioner, you can come in Thursday after 12 to pick up your license and pay the rest of the fee, okay? Thank you. Mr. President, item number 17 is the next one on the agenda.
Okay, can we have a motion to suspend item number, suspend the
Suspend
rules, take item number 17?
17.
Do I have a second? All in
I'm
favor?
sorry, yes. Thank you. They only run 7.
Okay, so your motion to take item number 16 and 17 collectively?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read the items.
Item number 16 is an ordinance offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council that the revised ordinances of the City of Everett be amended as follows. Article 1, General Provisions. Article 2, Discharges to the Municipal Separate Stormwater System, MS4. Article 3, Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance. Item number 17 is an ordinance offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council that the revised ordinances of the City of Everett be amended as follows. Chapter 15 is hereby amended by deleting the chapter in its entirety and replacing it with the new Chapter 15 as follows. Chapter 15, Sanitary Sewers and Storm Drains.
Accept the committee report and place on file and favor action on the orders.
Okay. On the piece.
Council
This has been postponed several weeks,
Yep.
several meetings, because our city engineer wanted to be here to give us a presentation on what it is. So I would ask that before we vote on anything, we have the city engineer, and I think he had an invited guest with him. Is the guest with you as well? If we could please
Is
have
a
them
motion to
before
have
us.
the city engineer and his guest come before us?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Good evening. If you both state your names for the record, please.
Greg St. Louis, DPW Engineering.
Michael Hornig with Beta Group.
Good evening. Counsel Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our invited guests, thank you. This process has been delayed a little bit because of schedules, but we have all the parties here, so if you could please just give us a brief overview so that we know exactly what we're dealing with, that'd be great.
Sure. So, item 16, the city is falling under new MS4 regulations which govern our our storm sewer regulations through the EPA. This order basically improves our existing regulations to bring the standards of the cities up to best management practices that are standard today. Item number 17 has to do with the sanitary sewer system. More specifically, we're under an administrative consent order that we need to comply with, and it looks to protect the inflow and infiltration entering our sewer system. It creates a regulation that's more in line with what the Encore development fell under their MEPA application and the mitigation associated therewith.
Thank you. As far as cost, is there a cost involved with this to the community? If so, roughly what we're talking about?
There's no cost to the community. This is mostly governing private development on private sites. There are mitigation components built into this. They're in line with state documentation.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Councilman Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask questions on the discharges to the municipal separate storm water systems. What discharges are going in there except for storm water?
Hopefully nothing into the stormwater system. We are under a consent order to remove some of our catch basins from the sewer system, and we're actively removing those project by project.
Okay, so there's no connections at all between stormwater and plumbing,
So the sewer system, your bathrooms should
Right.
not be connected to.
It is not?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, is there no more speakers? I'll entertain a motion to excuse the customary thanks. Thank you for coming up before us.
Thank
you. Your pleasure.
The reports are placed on file and favorable action on board.
Second.
Chairman, on the motion, on item number 17, can we just get a copy of the new Chapter 15?
I'll instruct the clerk to provide that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have motion to accept the communication, the committee report, also favorable action. Accept the favorable act, we have a motion to accept the two items as...
They're for enrollment, just so you know.
Yep. And the motion's been for favorable action.
On 16 first.
Yes. Before you call the roll, there was a request that the membership would like a copy of Chapter 15 provided to them.
Which is the
So
second
are we
one.
laying that over?
Yes.
Number 17?
No.
No, you're enrolling.
No, we're enrolling.
Yeah, but I'll resubmit another one, but you definitely received both pieces, but I'll resubmit it again.
Okay. Clerk will read the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli. And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays. You have enrolled the item.
We have a motion on item 17 as well for favorable
You
action.
made the motion, yep. Counsel Capone. Yes. Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio. Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli. And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays. You have enrolled that ordinance.
Okay, you have enrolled item 16, item 17.
The next item on the list is item number 20.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules, take item number 20. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 20.
Mr. President, item number 20 is a resolution offered by Councilor Fred Capone and Michael McLaughlin. That representatives from the Community Development and the Mayor's Office appear at our next meeting to discuss the dedicated southbound bus lane on Broadway and to address concerns regarding a potential northbound lane on Broadway.
Counsel Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. If we could have representatives from Community Development, if there's someone from the Mayor's Office that would like to talk about this.
We have a motion to invite them up before us. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Please have a seat and state your names and title for the record.
Jay Monty from Planning and Development.
Kevin O'Donnell, Chief of Staff of Mayor De Maria.
Counsel Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our invited guests. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I know, Jay, you and I have spoken about this southbound lane. We've spoken a couple of times. Northbound lane recently, we talked about that. If you could just kind of give an overview to the council. I know that we continue to disagree on the scope of the hours for the southbound lane. I think it could be pulled in a little bit. I understand that it's more for practical reasons, that it's not really being heavily enforced for the the earlier hours, but more towards the core hours. But I'd like to see it kind of pulled in to 6 to 9. And I am noticing that with the enforcement of the southbound lane, we're still using quite a bit of city resources to keep that lane clear. So I know that you're asking people to stay out of the lane or they're going to get ticketed. Parking is going through there constantly, running down that line. I think most people comply, but we're still having some issues. And if you could address the north, I know we spoke about that. It's from the section of the Circle up to Chelsea Street. And, you know, my personal opinion, I know that's still in the works, and my personal opinion on that is you are going to get a short-term gain just from that area, but I do think that it's going to have a very detrimental impact on the residents and the businesses in that area, because there are quite a few in that stretch. So, again, you've relayed some of those concerns that I've had. We've gone back and forth on it. I know this is a piece that the entire council was interested in, so for the benefit of the council, if you could just give an overview on that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So southbound lane, I think, we've shown has been very successful since we opened that in almost 2 years now. We serve something upwards of 8,000 Everett residents a day using those buses in that short period of time. And for them, it's been a 30% reduction in travel time getting to work every day. So we've gotten a lot of very positive feedback from those riders. We've surveyed them multiple times now. And quite frankly, they've been asking, like, what else can you do? What else can you, some of them asked, can you expand the lanes? Can you move them down Lower Broadway, coming home in the afternoon? So we do feel that it's been a very positive effect on many people, and quite significant. I mean, 30% travel time is significant. To your question about the hours, absolutely. I mean, from at 5:30 in the morning, there's not much traffic out there. From a logistical standpoint, it made sense both from, the T's, instructions to their drivers. You have obviously a bus that starts a route. At a certain time, they get a certain ways down the road, and suddenly the lane is open or the lane is closed, so that the fewer times that you have that changeover is obviously better from a logistical operations standpoint. So starting at 5 in the morning means starting with the start of bus service, and that really simplifies and streamlines just the general operation of things. And with that, too, we studied parking somewhat extensively, and the utilization of parking in the morning is somewhere between 25 and 45%. So even with the parking removed in that time period, we don't feel that we're really detrimentally affecting anybody's ability to get to their home or to their business. So that's the reason we haven't changed the hours. It's not to say we will never change the hours, but we think it would be more effort than it's worth to shave an hour off here or there. With your question regarding the parking resources, to date we haven't hired any other additional staff to enforce that. That's been a real allocation of staff. So somebody who may have been doing street sweeping in those hours is now doing the bus lane. So the cost has not been anything beyond what the city was previously spending to operate the lane. But certainly, again, where we do make expansions and do more, we would have to consider that as a cost. So that covers the southbound, I think. Is that what you're looking for? The northbound lane, this was something that we looked at a little bit. We're not ready to pull the trigger on by any means, and I'll tell you, the reason that we looked in that area is because coming home in the afternoon, that was very clearly the area where that affected the most, residents, riders, those same 8,000 folks going in the morning and the same 8,000 folks coming out. And in that stretch, once you get beyond Rite Aid and the Square, those bus lines disperse. So the ability to kind of improve those folks' commute was really in that short stretch there from the Circle to Rite Aid. Now, we also recognize, too, parking in the afternoon is not parking in the morning. Businesses that aren't open at 7 in the morning are open at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 p.m. So we certainly take that very seriously, and we don't want to, detrimentally affect those residents. And as we've discussed this more with the mayor, and we're working on a separate sort of comprehensive plan as to how we improve mobility within the city. Where we're at now is, looking at, you've heard Mr. Taco speak about the importance of bringing folks in by shuttle to the resort, and really the importance of improving transit, because I think even, Encore realizes as they develop down Lower Broadway, the ability to bring people to this area can't be satisfied in single occupancy vehicles. There just isn't the ability to expand the roads, expand the parking to the extent that would allow them, or anybody else for that matter, to have a vibrant business. So we recognize that, we're on board with that, and that means, we've talked about how do we get the bus lane extended down Lower Broadway, and we're working through a grant project now to do a partial design of that to see, is it feasible, how much does it cost, could it be a part of a future mitigation package for a future developer to pay for, and similar, we'll go through the same process going north. I think where we're at today is that, we still believe that doing dedicated bus lanes on Broadway is a good thing, and quite honestly, a necessary thing if we're going to satisfy the demand for transportation that comes with the development that's coming to the city. But I think we want to do that comprehensively. So to pick on that one block from Sweetser to Rite Aid may not be the most fair thing to do today. It might be a more reasonable ask when we're really comprehensively looking at Broadway and really drilling down and making a very good, strong transit system. And to your question about the parking, we have a lot of work to do. We're working on how do we accommodate the need for parking. There's always going to be a need for parking. We don't want to put anybody out of business, for sure. And there's many ways to do that. It could be utilizing parking that's not utilized at that time of day. So, for example, the school down on Broadway, if their parking is unutilized at 4 p.m., can we trade some of the parking on Broadway for the parking in the school for those few hours? It's one option. Could we offer the opportunity for businesses who may close their doors at 4 to allow folks to park in their business, afterwards, if a neighboring business has that need. So there's many solutions there, and I think we want to take some more time to explore that, but also take a more comprehensive look at what our long-term goal is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know it's beyond the 5. If I could just make a quick comment, not a question. It's a request to them. I'll be very brief.
I have 3 other speakers following up, and they're actually going to, I just want to let our guests know, councilmen are restricted to a 5-minute speaking, and they're able to do this twice. So granted, explanations, the content is important, and that's what we're here for. But just keep in mind, that's some of the limitations.
I'll do the second round. That's
all right,
fine.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Councilman McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, through you to our, but I guess, Mr. Monty, I have received numerous phone calls from parents that have children now going to the Webster School Extension that are really concerned that the buses on the southbound lane are driving really fast through the bus lane. Sure. They're not following traffic rules and regulations. There's been some running of stop sign or red light or the area around the Webster Street School Extension, parents coming across Broadway, parking on the other side and bringing their children across has become a real concern to those parents. Sure. And I'm just hoping that you can bring the message back to the MBTA folks and talk with them about talking to their bus drivers about, even though they do have this bus lane and the purpose is to speed up the traffic, we need to keep pedestrians safe. We need to keep the kids that are going to that school safe at all times. And I have actually witnessed it myself firsthand, and 3 or 4 parents had sent me messages through social media asking me if I could try to get these buses to slow down, that they are seeing it on a regular basis over the last month that school has been back into session.
So I'll certainly bring that to the T. One thing I'll also add is you've probably seen the sidewalk construction we're doing out on Broadway, and the kind of the catalyst for doing that construction is we're consolidating bus stops or eliminating some bus stops. We're also moving one that's going to go, and the new one's going to go right in front of the Webster School Extension. That'll actually require buses to stop, come to a complete stop, really right in front of the school entrance. And hopefully that will also help to mitigate some of this concern.
And I agree. But in the meantime, if they can just slow down, slow down. We want them to move faster. We want them to move through through Broadway, but we need to keep pedestrian safety in mind at all times. And there are some parents that are quite concerned about.
I will bring that message back to the
Thank you. I
takeaway.
appreciate this one.
Councilor Marchese.
Mr. Monte, is it feasible to have a 4-foot sidewalk on Broadway? I see we're doing things over, and now, the first thing is, we're going to leave the bus stop on Hancock and then have one in front of the school?
No, so the one at Hancock is actually closing.
That'll close and come down the street.
Right, so we're closing 3 bus stops and replacing them with 1.
Okay, and how come we can't do 4 feet in front of the school? Instead of having that 8-foot, why couldn't we're working on sidewalks and replacing them, why couldn't we pick up the extra 5 feet and go from Hancock all the way down to the square with a 4-foot sidewalk?
So do you want to narrow the sidewalk, you're saying?
Well,
or-
why not? We could make more room on the, I mean, you got guys driving bikes in the middle of the highway. So, I mean, there's some things that are totally ridiculous, and that is one of the things I understand. A bike lane in the middle of the highway between a speeding bus and people
So
driving. I mean,
the
why
bus lane-
couldn't, you couldn't recess, instead of what we have, presently a 10-foot sidewalk?
So is your question to add to the roadway space to separate the bikes and the bus? Is that what you're?
Well, just to cut the sidewalk back. Instead of having that big 10-foot sidewalk, I mean, why couldn't we go back to a 4-foot sidewalk, and it picks up 4 or 5 feet on the road?
Well, I think as your colleague mentioned, you know, there are a lot of kids and, you know, families going to school. It's a heavily trafficked pedestrian
It is, as long as they stay on the sidewalk, they probably won't get hit by anything. It's called the common sense theory. Avoid the car, you don't get hit. Well, you can put the bike lane inside then, you know, I don't know.
You know, the bus lane in the morning is a shared bus and bike lane. It's
Yep.
actually been, you know, it was something that we weren't sure how it was going to work. Some folks were rightfully, I think, concerned about that. It's actually worked very well from the folks we've spoken to who ride bicycles and so on. But again, we're always trying to balance the different needs of road users.
Yep.
And there's a lot of road users. There's pedestrians, bikes, transit users.
But is
cars.
that a law that we have to have a 10-foot sidewalk going down our main street? I'm just curious.
I believe that the law says 8, I think, in that area.
Is that what it is, 8?
6 is the
minimum?
ADA compliant, but we may in our zoning, I'd have to double check this. I think we have 8 feet.
I'm just curious, I mean, every 2 or 3 feet we pick up a free bus, especially when we're doing them over.
Mhm.
I don't want to say rip them all up, but in the process, they're doing the work there now. Maybe we should put a little thought into maybe make it a little small and pick it up 2 or 3 feet. I don't know, that's, you know, just my thought on it. You know, I always thought maybe we could also recessed it in front of the school so that people could have pulled in, dropped the kids off, and came back out. That was also something. But thank you. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Counsel. Councilman Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions I have. And we're talking about the northbound lane for buses. I would like you to do some sort of a study that will show the improvement for the buses going from, I guess, the rotary to wherever you want it to stop. I would also like to see a count of how much improvement has been for the automobiles, because everybody's talking about how great we're doing with the buses. I don't think anybody really realizes how great the traffic for automobile is coming south. I mean, they don't have to wait for a bus to pull in and out.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, when a bus pulls in, they can't get by it. When the bus is trying to get out, they can't get by that either. If you look at the traffic coming down now, those cars just whiz right down.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about speeding, but they're moving right almost as fast as the buses. And that is until we get stuck with the traffic at the rotary.
Right.
Because that's what the tie-up is on that end of the street. But I wish you could do that for us to let us know, you know, and I don't have to do it before it, I want to know afterwards, how much did the bus improve, and how much did the automobile improve?
Right. So I can tell you how much the bus improved, and the bus improves, and it's sort of a relative scale because it depends how bad traffic is, right? So the bus that comes at 6 in the morning, that's not sitting in traffic, didn't save a whole lot of
Right.
time, but the bus that comes at 7:30 saved like 6 or 7 minutes. On the average, it, I think, improved the total travel time, like I said, 20 to 30%, and
I know it's
and, yeah,
improved.
Yeah.
I know, but
The vehicle's a little harder to measure, so.
But you have to look at the automobile traffic. So
Right.
it's not just the passengers that are on the bus that are getting the benefit, it's the people that are coming down driving and get a big benefit, because they're really coming down the street.
And again, we don't have a study to give you the exact numbers right now. The overall capacity of the road, so the number of vehicles that can get through, say, the light at Norwood Street, is probably the same. But certainly the flow, like the progression of traffic has sped up. So I wouldn't expect that we would see more vehicles are using the road, but it certainly has improved the flow for those who do. I can certainly look into how we could
Yeah,
quantify that
I'm
some
not
more.
really not interested in the southbound, because I know it's working. I just want to know
For
if you
northbound.
can get some statistics on the
On the
northbound.
northbound, okay.
Future
I got you.
statistics.
Gotcha.
Thank you, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our guests. The only thing I'd follow up with, like I said, I know we've talked about it from our discussions. I get the sense that the administration understands that it would work quite a bit of growing pains at the minimum for that area before anything has happened. I know when before the southbound lane was implemented, there was a lot of reach out to the community, interaction, that kind of stuff. I don't think that it was very active. Some people were talking about it, but I don't think that there was a lot of involvement from the business and residential community on that side, at least no pushback.
Right.
I think there's a lot of pushback on North. So the question, well, the request that I would have
Yep.
is before anything is implemented on the northbound side, before we do anything along those, I just want to make sure that the neighborhood in that area has an opportunity to be heard
Yep.
and work with that, because I
Sure.
do know that quite a few businesses in that area, myself included, see people at those work hours, et cetera. So it will work quite a disadvantage to a lot of
Yeah,
those folks.
and, you know, the reason we haven't rolled it out as quickly as we did the southbound side is for exactly that reason. I mean, we very much respect that, you know, businesses are open at that time, so we will do that.
Yeah, without question, we understand there's a lot of moving parts there, and we need a plan more so in its totality before we can start having any discussion. So, you know, we have almost, I guess it's fair to say, like exacts, or an exact plan where people can ask the what-ifs for. Right now, it's just kind of out there theoretically, so we know there's a lot that has to go into it.
I think
And everyone will be included.
I think in the coming months, we will actually want to come to you guys with some more comprehensive thoughts and plans as to kind of where we're headed with all of this, and just so we can put it all into context, because it's, I think, very hard to look at just one piece of a bus lane here, one piece of a bus lane there.
Right.
You know, really, we want to look at the whole and understand where this is going and why we may want to consider doing these things. And
There's more to it than
yeah,
the
that's-
bus is just going fast.
Yeah, and that's important, because as one of my colleagues has pointed out, you move down Broadway and then get stuck at the Rotary.
Exactly.
And then if you move up on the north side, you're going to get stuck at a certain location. So obviously, the goal is to move traffic all the way through. I know that when the southbound side was implemented, even though there was a program to get feedback from the community, et cetera, there was really nothing that came through the city council. So I just want to make sure that we're all in the loop on the northbound side and anything that
Yep.
stretches from there. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. A motion to excuse customary thanks? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now, if you'd please stay, I know you're here for the next 3 items as well.
I'd like to defer this piece back to sponsor.
Have a motion to refer this back to sponsor. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we have 3 items on the sign-in sheet that involve the chief of staff. Entertain a motion to take item number 21. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 21.
Mr. President, item number 21 is a resolution offered by Councilors Fred Capone and Michael McLaughlin that a representative from the mayor's office appear at our next meeting to discuss the road closures at Robin, Dexter, and Beecham Streets and the impact to this neighborhood.
Council Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. And if we could have the city engineer before us, too, that would be helpful.
Good evening, Mr. St. Louis.
Good evening.
So, gentlemen, it's no surprise that we have a lot of traffic in this community, and the morning commute is difficult. There's quite a bit of work that's going to happen on these streets. I think it's to try to, is it East Boston that is getting the work that's done to benefit them underneath that?
I think it also, there's lines going to Chelsea that are benefit also.
Okay. So, do we have an overview of how it's going to interact to try to minimize the impact on traffic? Do we know timeframes, schedules, all that? Could you just give us an update on that?
Sure. So, obviously, as Mr. Taco brought up earlier today, the bridge decks being replaced is currently the biggest hurdle in that corridor. That's currently governing where Eversource is staging, where Wind Development is staging. So they're all working together very closely. Certainly, there's some overlap in project areas, as you can imagine, on Robin and Dexter, so everyone's sort of taking their turn in the corridor so that we don't end up paving a road and then digging it up 6 months later. Right now, Eversource is rounding the corner out of Robin onto Beecham so that they can clear that section of the roadway so Wind's contractor, SPS, can start doing the full-depth reclamation in that area. Following that work, they're going to be transitioning down to Dexter Street in early November, and at that point, Robin Street should be passable. So we're always trying to maintain access to the Rover Street businesses. We've implemented two-way traffic on some of the other side streets connecting Broadway to Robin Street, restricting parking as necessary. Allowing employees to get in and out and then also guiding trucks. Certain oversized vehicles can only use certain roadways, while other box truck-sized vehicles have more options. So it's all being coordinated, on a weekly basis at this point.
Okay, excellent. And so the transition will go into early November, Rob will be passable. How far do you think it'll be before Dexter is completed with regards to Eversource?
So I believe Dexter right now is more on a November to December timeframe. That basically, when we got firm timelines from the City of Boston and the state DOT, they basically, it was the only decision to be made at that point in order to balance the work zones.
Yeah, with everything going on with the bridge and everything else, it's bad enough as it is. Now we're going to go back to one lane. So, all right, thank you very much. I don't have any questions. I don't know if my colleagues do.
Thanks, through you, Mr. St. Louis, there's been some businesses that were concerned about being able to get access from the southbound side. One of the restaurants at one of the corners. Have we been able to open up access so that the businesses that are still in that corner can get access to their business? And Councilor Capone and I had heard of one restaurant specific down there that was really in a tight situation. Unfortunately, they were totally, basically blocked and shut off from being able to operate. And it's not their fault that we have all of this going on around them. They have made an investment into our community to be a business owner and to be able to run their business, and they should be able to do that without us adding more negative impact to an already difficult situation. And being able to nicely shut them down, it was basically what had happened, and I don't know if that situation has got any better, and I was just wondering if, hopefully that it has, since this piece went on. So I don't know if you can touch on that.
Sure.
Well, Councilor Capone and I spoke approximately 4 to 6 weeks ago, and, because he had, those sentiments were relayed by the business owner as well, and we have directed the police officers that are on detail down there to do all they can to flow those people that want to go to that restaurant exactly where to go. And right now, it appears that where the opening is coming up north and everything, it seems to be very easy. They kind of led us down there coming back from a meeting in Boston, so we're hoping that it has improved.
So that's great. So this piece is kind of an older piece, and it had kind of been on previously introduced, so that's why I think the timeline has kind of overlapped, and I'm sure what Councilor Capone and you guys had worked on it. I just wanted to know that it had been done, but I appreciate the answer, Mr. O'Donnell.
Yeah, and if there's still more issues, please let us know.
I know bringing anything to your attention gets resolved quickly and gets addressed immediately, you and Mr. St. Louis. So I assume that had happened. I just wanted to hear that it had happened, because that was why I had attached my name to this, because that restaurant had called us and was really concerned. And I think you and I had talked about it previously when it first happened. But I appreciate you guys making every effort to keep that business and any of those businesses still open and functioning, and until their time, whatever ends up transpiring with them.
Doing the best we can.
Thanks, Mr. O'Donnell. Appreciate it.
I'd like to refer this piece back to sponsor.
Item number 19, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Fred Capone that representatives from the Community Development, the Mayor's Office, and the City Engineer appear at our next council meeting to discuss the status of implementation of the previously approved traffic flow island design on Church and Webster Streets.
Thank you, Mr. President. If we could please have those individuals before us again. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Again, this is an item that Mr. Monti and I have talked about in the past. And just for the benefit of the council, this was something that had been an issue for a number of years. And we thought we collectively had a plan. And I think our former city engineer was on board with it. The council was on board with it. It went to Public Safety, Traffic Commission, rather, and I think they were on board with it. But then I guess there's a wrinkle of some sort. Mr. Monty had relayed to me that we can't get an engineer to sign off on the design the way it is. I think what we were trying to do was keep the flow of traffic the way it is right now, but extend the island out so that it clearly demarks the lanes of traffic up to Linden Street. So if you could just explain exactly what happened from that point on after it left us. I thought we were all good, but something had happened.
Yeah, so, when we implemented this arrangement that's out there now, the idea was to create a flow of traffic at the intersection of Linden and Webster Street, where vehicles coming out of Webster Street, Church Street, were on the right, and vehicles entering were on the left, are also on the right, coming the other direction. It's typical, the rules of driving, staying on the right side of the road. And when we observed the intersection way back, a lot of the conflicts that we observed were as a result of when folks were coming up Church Street, they were effectively getting to the end of Church Street and essentially on the wrong side of the road. They were on the left side of the road. So people turning into Webster Street, weren't expecting a car, be pulling out from that position. So that's why we arranged it the way it is today to make it so that all cars at that intersection were on the correct side of the roadway. Understandably, there was some pushback from that. It was a change, particularly for, I think, the church on the corner there. That said, I think it has performed as a safer intersection today than it was 3 years ago. But we certainly respect the fact that not everybody has enjoyed that change. And to your point, the council and traffic commission had proposed a sort of a reversion back to the old way, but extending the island in hopes that might channelize the traffic. Ultimately, what has happened, we both myself and Greg sort of feel that we're not comfortable with that arrangement. But further to that, we really would want an engineer to put their stamp on the plan itself to kind of affirm that we're doing something that is safe and by the book. And when we brought it around to, quite frankly, more than one engineering firm, they have all come back to us and said, we're not comfortable with that arrangement. So that has sort of brought us to this impasse. We did meet with the Traffic Commission, I believe it was 4 weeks ago, give or take. And so the other solution to all this is to reverse the flow of traffic on the two streets. So Church Street would flow down to Broadway and Webster Street would flow into Linden Street. That would solve the problem as well. But that has impacts that extend beyond that intersection. They extend to Devon Street, which is one way, Liberty Street, which is one way. It changes what may happen at the intersections on Broadway. And so we are going to go back to one of our on-call consultants and have them analyze that some more, see if that's a feasible option that would allow those two streets to operate, without the need to loop around that island, but have some confidence as to does it work kind of in the area generally. And also, do the residents on Liberty Street, Devon Street, those places, is that something that they want too? I think we need to find that out as well. So that's sort of where we're at today.
Okay, that makes sense. Before there was implementation of a change, have we done any kind of a study on accidents in that area?
We do, yeah, we've pulled accidents, and we had those numbers the last time. I don't have them with me today, but I believe in the year prior to implementing what's out there today, there was something like 4 or 5 accidents. I think in the 3 years since we've done it, we've had maybe, I think 1 or 2. So it's definitely been the data has shown there's been a dramatic reduction in accidents in that intersection. Not to say there's been none, but certainly far fewer than there were before. Vehicle speeds were also reduced significantly because now cars have to navigate that little loop around. So that has probably blunted some of the conflicts to some extent.
And I appreciate the fact that we can't find an engineer to put the stamp on it. That speaks to it.
Right.
So right now we're kind of sending it out, trying to get some ideas. I know we already had spent roughly, was it about 10,000 or so?
Somewhere in that ballpark,
something like
yeah.
that. So, okay, so where are we at for like a time frame? Where are we at for a cost?
I'll put that one to Fred.
So I had spoke previously to the council about undertaking a traffic signal review citywide with all the development occurring in town. Under that contract, I'm going to specifically have them look at the intersection of Broadway at Church Street to see what the effects are there, and they can look at the neighborhood under that same assignment.
What do you think we're looking at for a general time frame?
They're going to have to be doing their traffic counts now. I think, to say end of the year, and probably have an update to the council.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Now, as a result of some of the, with Devon's and Liberty.
Council McLaughlin?
Stay away.
We don't have to right now. This was a suggestion that was actually brought up by Council President.
Councilor Napolitano?
Actually, you sure you want?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Napolitano.
All right, first of all, I've been working on this for over 5 years. Second of all, I have a different recollection about the accident report, so I would ask that you compile an accurate listing of the traffic accidents over the last 6 years.
6 years.
This way here, you're accounting for the 3 years before and the 3 years after. Okay? We had that information one time. I have a different recollection than what you've reported, so I'd like to get that done. Second of all, how have we ever determined what the traffic flow and what's going on in that spot? I travel that road every day on my way to work, 5 days a week for the last 6 years. And I've never seen strips, I've never seen radar units, I've never seen anything at all indicating that there is any, that we're determining how that traffic is, how that this change has impacted that area. I hear a lot of opinions, and you are professionals, and I respect that opinion. If I have not dealt with cars coming at me, coming down past the one-way street down to the Devon School, as recent as yesterday, an SUV coming at me, and I blocked her and I asked her, "You know this is a one-way street?" She said, "Oh, I'm dropping my kid off at the school." There's a school there. Okay, I'm very confused by this because we have a problem. And the thing is that whether there's been a significant decrease in accidents or not, the type of accident that's going to impact down there is going to be a head-on collision, more than likely with children in the cars. So I would rather be proactive and not see an accident of that magnitude occur because somebody didn't see the do not enter sign. And the do not enter signs, as clearly as they are, there are trees, there's other things that obstruct the viewing there. So I'm going to ask you, as being the experts, what's your solution? Because we've been asking for a solution for this for 5 years. And every time we think we have one, there's a curveball thrown. And frankly, I'm tired of curveballs because we are no closer. We have a situation down there that, in my opinion, as a frequent traveler of that road, is a potential hazard. Yet, we're just dismissing it and we're continuing on. It strikes me as that somebody is married to this plan and just doesn't want to give up on it. And to me, as a member of the legislative branch here, that doesn't make any sense to me. Our objective is to make the city as safe as possible for its residents. And when we have a problem, I understand the confusion about getting people to enter on the correct sides of the road. But now you're sending them down head-to-head into a one-way street with inadequate signage, and it's a dangerous situation. When an accident occurs down there, it's going to be of a significant magnitude because the person coming the opposite direction is going to be coming downhill toward Ferry Street, toward Broadway, with no idea that they're in the wrong. So, what's your solution?
I think in that specific area, the solution is to flip the streets. But as I said, I think that has impacts that go far beyond simply that intersection that we all may want to.
I've been doing this 25 years, and then some of my colleagues have been around just as long. Sometimes that becomes necessary.
Yeah.
And not that I want to impact anybody and any of our residents, but neither do I want to see a large-scale accident down there, because that's what the solution is.
Yeah.
I welcome a study, but I'd like to know how the study is being conducted. Because again, I don't see any device, I don't see anything down there indicating or tracking how traffic is moving, when it's coming across. You know, if you had a strip across the part of Church Street to be able to record the amount of cars that are blowing past the stop sign, you know, I'd prefer that than you taking my word for it.
Sure.
But I know what I see. 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 6 years. So I really like to see some more activity on this. This cannot keep coming back up here every couple of months. We've been through this with 3 city engineers. And Mr. St. Louis has given us, and from the last one we met, has given what I thought was probably the best approach to this. Gave us options, we looked at them. But now we're back to square one.
Council, I mean, we all have the common goal of making this city safer for all the citizens, not just in the traffic aspect, but all across the board. And I know we've been going over this for quite some time, and we've come up with probably arguably several different solutions, but the concern is a professional engineer not willing to sign off on it is what gives us pause to move forward on some of the designs.
But we can still, we still look at some of the other options that we've already been
Without
discussed.
question. Without question.
And that's my whole point. If this had not been brought up by the sponsor, you know, I mean, do we have to be that vigilant on you for such a thing, that we have to continually harp on something? If this had not been brought up, what would have happened? Nothing. We wouldn't have known any different. Problem is, we all travel up here and we do know different. So
Yeah,
let's get some action on this, that's all.
that
Enough's
location every
enough.
day.
Council, excuse me, the 5 minutes.
Thank you.
But I'd like to answer that question before we move on to next councilor.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? All right, well, let me,
The question-
all right,
the
if memory
question
serves
is
me
we need
correctly,
to see a
what would have
solution.
happened if this wasn't put on? I mean, we've been having discussions, ongoing discussions administratively as to what our options are. And we are just hung up on the fact that a professional engineer won't sign off on it.
And as I said, we were in front of Traffic Commission, a few weeks ago, so this has been an ongoing discussion outside of this body, so.
Yeah, it's not being ignored. But I think it's fair to say that all of us want to make sure that whatever changes we make there next are the correct ones and the final ones.
Council, my question to you is, Councilman Napolitano from the Chair, if I may. When was the last time we talked about this? To today, do we have anything in between about this issue?
I believe this was in committee where we reviewed the various options, probably last fall, a year ago.
Has there been any
This was
communi-
originally came up and presented as a request for some solution here 5 years ago. That would have been last fall.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Council McLaughlin.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I echo the comments of Council President Napolitano. We've spent $10,000 to $15,000 to do nothing. We've wasted $10,000 to $15,000 of taxpayers' money because we've got no closer to a solution than we are today from day one. We've actually been presented plans that can't be approved. Mr. St. Louis, you have a stamp. Do you have a PE? Yes. So you actually are a professional engineer. There's plans presented to the city. Can you reject those and say, in your profession, we're not going to accept it? I know what's right and wrong as having a stamp. So I'm just confused that we spent $10,000 to $15,000, and it's before you, Mr. St. Louis. I'm not putting the blame on you at all. This is prior to you being here. But it is very frustrating that we are actually still sitting here talking about this because, as Councilor Napolitano said, they're blowing stop, do not enter signs now. What happens in the wintertime when the signs are covered over with snow after a big snowstorm? They're not paying attention to the signs on a sunny afternoon in July. They're not paying attention to the signs during a snowstorm or during a blizzard or whatever the weather condition it might be. This is a prone accident waiting to happen, as Councilor Napolitano said. Somebody is going to severely get injured because of this, and it seems like nothing other than kicking the can down the road is happening. Nothing productively is happening. Even small changes. There's no changes. What can we do? Can we go back to the company that we spent $10,000 to $15,000 on and say, you have to rectify this and come up with a plan that's going to be able to be approved by a professional engineer?
No, I believe they proposed several plans at the time.
But none of them can be approved by a
there were
professional
several
engineer.
that could be approved, but they were not plans that the council or the traffic commission wanted to implement.
So did you guys feel at some point that you should come back and say, this plan A that you want to see implemented can't be approved, but Plan B, C, and D are potentially able, and have a discussion with us? Was that not on the radar to have done?
So the last time I appeared before the council on this topic, I had provided 4 different concepts to the council. No worries. So we presented those 4 concepts to the Parking and Traffic Commission several months ago, and quite frankly, they weren't in favor of any of the 4 options. We got them to put it back on the docket, and basically we spoke in favor of concept D, which was reversing the flow of the directions, and they opined that they wanted us to provide more data on the actual scenario of flipping it and how it affected the neighborhood. So that's the point we're at tonight.
So I'll bring this back to the statement that I made during committee last week. Taking the traffic abilities out of our hands on this city council has become a big deterrent for us, because we're the ones that have to answer the taxpayers. The taxpayers aren't calling the members of the traffic commission. All due respect, some of my good friends serve on it. They're not getting the phone calls. We're getting the phone calls. We're being stopped on the streets. We're being asked what is going on. We walk down the street, somebody's asking, anytime you go into that neighborhood, which we all do frequently, somebody's asking us what's happening. The church has asked us every time we go over to the church for some reason or another. They're asking what's going on with the flow of traffic. The ability to work with the traffic commission is becoming a deterrent for us as city councilors, in my opinion. I think we need to look at that as a problem and be able to maybe make some changes there, because we need to be in the loop. As I said to Mr. Taco tonight, taking us out of being involved in any discussion, not making decisions, but even in being informed, hurts the residents of the city, because we can't answer questions. This has been on the docket for 5 years, and we're nowhere closer than we were 5 years ago to finding a solution. One day, somebody just decided to make this change, and that's really what happened. It was working. Mr. Burley, our clerk of committees, has lived there for decades on Liberty Street. It worked for a very long time, and one day, somebody just decided that they were going to change the flow of traffic and screw up this whole intersection, and that's really how it transpired. And now we can't figure out how to put it back to where it was for 100 years. And we're back spending $10,000 to $15,000 of taxpayers' money, and we can't get any closer than where we were. It's crazy. It really, it's nuts.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Florio. I have 2 more speakers.
Okay. Originally, this Webster Street was a 2-way street, and it was made into a 1-way street, which it should have been, because the people in the area wanted it. Now, I didn't hear all your solutions. I'm having a problem hearing you, I don't know why. But anyways, so I don't want to repeat the question. But going on Webster Street, if you change the directions the other way around, because what's happening is a lot of people coming from the other side of the city, coming to City Hall to do business, the parking lot's in the back, you're making them go the other way. So if you make them go this way, they're going into the parking lot, and they avoid taking that turn and make Church Street a 1-way going the other way.
Right.
Get rid of that island altogether. Put parking spaces there. You know what I'm saying? Is there any way you can cut that island right out and change the direction so you don't have that curve coming in? Get rid of it altogether. I think that will resolve the problem. I'll try it. Put whatever. Try it for 30 days. Instead of spending all this money, why don't we do the trial? Well, 30-day trial. You block off that where the people are coming in that circle. You make Webster go 1 way this way and Church Street go 1 way the other way. So 30-day trial. What do you got to lose? After 5 days, if you see it's a problem, 10 days, you stop it. I mean, does the engineer feel that would work better? I mean, you understand what? Okay.
That's the current proposal in front of the Parking and Traffic Commission. It's just flip the one-ways.
But you're flipping the 1-ways, Bay. You're getting rid of that curb so people can't cut across, in other words. When you're going down Church Street, you have to go down Church Street. When you're going to Webster Street, you have to go up Webster Street. You can't.
There's no head-on conflict.
Right. Okay. So the Traffic Commission is the one that has to approve that?
This body deferred it to the commission as part of its process.
Can we take it out of that process and have you make the decision? You're the city engineer.
Yeah, make suggestions.
Yeah, I think it's the will of the council's body. And with respect to the transference of information, I mean, that information is easily ascertained. Just give us a call, or the agendas are posted at all the meetings, so.
I mean, I don't have anything against the traffic commission, don't get me wrong, I hope they don't get the wrong idea. But is it that you can get together with the traffic commission, you give that proposal, ask them if you could do it for 30 days? I mean, is that difficult, or?
No, I can propose that to the Parking and Traffic Commission at their next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Last speaker on this issue was Councilor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just say in the beginning that the main idea is to lessen some of the traffic that's going in that area. And what I do when I come up that way, I'll make a turn, come down this street here, and go into the parking lot, okay? Now, when I come out of the parking lot, I can only take a right. But there's a spot over there now that just opened up, okay? So I go around City Hall, and I come back up and I do this thing. That's the second time now. And I come back, and guess what? That spot is gone. So I come around the parking spot, and I take a right and come back up. But there was another spot that opened behind me. I can't back up there. So we go around City Hall again. That's 3 times now I've gone by that section, okay? So the parking lot as it stands right now is the way it's always been. You have to pull in the other side, and you pull out this side. My suggestion is to change that traffic, reverse the flow of that traffic, because now you could come in, go by the first exit, and come in this way, and then if you want to go out, you can turn around. But the spot opens up here now, you can pull right back into the parking lot again, because that's what we did before. You would come in that way, come around, because the street was one way this way, you could keep going around as long as you want. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you didn't. But I would say, one of the big things to save it would be to reverse the direction of going into the parking lot. That means you got to, black out the white marks and put new white marks into it. I don't know what that would cost, and it is very costly, but I don't think it would take a long time to do. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, councilors. Excuse me, customary thanks.
Thank you.
Councilor Capone's. Councilor, is your
Councilor
will to
Capone,
send
would-
to Mr. St. Louis, or?
Yeah, want to refer this matter to the city engineer's office and the mayor's office, and we'll just look for updates as things come forward in traffic.
Send to
commission.
traffic also?
Yeah, and just look for updates as they come along.
Okay, have a second on that? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
No, I think we get 2 more. I think we're on 25, Councilor, right? Mr. President?
Yep. Item number
Someone
25.
suspended.
Before we get started, though, I just want to mention to the body, the irony of Councilman Del Sol calling me for 5 minutes was not lost on me. But I do respect that, and it's part of the job, but I do appreciate his effort to keep me to the time. Clerk, will read item number 25, please. I need a motion to suspend the rules and take item number 25. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
You're
If you read item number 25.
Item number 25, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon that the city of Everett look into the feasibility of starting an internship program for all departments and to reach out to colleges and trade schools in the area to tap into the talent pool they may have. Where he's not here.
The sponsor's not here,
Sponsor's
so
not
I
here.
would make a recommendation you postpone it to our next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone this to the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, need a,
I'm sorry?
okay, I need a motion to suspend the rules, take item number 12. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 12.
Item number 12, Mr. President's ordinance offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese to amend by deleting Section 10-27 inspection request before occupancy of Article 3, Certificate of Habitability. I will note that Mr. Soper is also here.
Do you have a copy of the new?
Yes, I can read it. I was going to read it.
Could you please read it? Yep.
So this is from the most recent Committee on Legislative Affairs and Election on October 4th. Councilor Marchese reviewed the proposed amendments to 10-27, paragraph A, that was drafted by he and City Clerk Sergio Cornelio, that he remarked would give the people back their property. Councilor Capone suggested amending the last sentence of this paragraph further, so it would read now, any permission or denial to expand additional inspections of that property shall not influence any decision of the originally inspected unit. The committee voted to report back to the City Council with a recommendation for favorable action on the amendment to Section 10-27, paragraph A, by amending further the last sentence in that paragraph, so it would now read as follows. Any permission or denial to expand additional inspections of that property shall not influence any decision of the originally inspected unit. And if you would like it in context, which might help, 10-27 is the owner must request a legal use of status from the building department of the City of Everett, and at the end it would state that new section of any permission or denial to expand additional inspections of that property shall not influence any decision of the originally inspected unit. So it was adding a second line.
We took out, like you said, the wording now is at the discretion of the homeowner. And it gives the homeowner a little protection, long due protection from what's going on in the city right now. You know, I was troubled a couple weeks ago when I heard that we're putting inspectors at open houses. I mean, what have we become? I mean, this is our city. This is a democracy. This isn't some Stalin Russian city. I mean, this is our city. I mean, this is, what have we become here? We got people going through the garbage. I mean, come on. I mean, what have we become here? This is crazy. I can understand some things, but I mean, to go through garbage, if we have inspectors, send them down to schools and find out the kids are $12,000 a pop or don't belong in the city. That's an important thing. That's where you save money. Not going to people's house and telling them what they can and can't do. There's people who could be seniors, and you know as well as I know, if you're in property, you go in there with the inspection, they go, well, okay, see you later. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. They may make a decision. You go into a court, and a guy's looking for his $1,200, and you're going to go in there, and you're going to say, well, here's what he destroyed. Judge is going to see it. He says, is this true? And the guy's going to say no. And even if it's in your favor, you're still not going to see the money. Any kind of small claims is a waste of time. It really is. You may get in favor of that, but no one ever pays you. But so this is just a way of giving a little bit back to the people of Everett and giving them back their property and let no one tell them what you can do with your property. And it's getting a little ridiculous in the city. And I would move that we vote favorable action for the people of Everett on this piece, and it's about time we started doing something for them.
Second motion. Okay, we have a motion for favorable action. It's been seconded. Council McLaughlin on the motion.
I see Mr. Soper in the audience. I don't know if he'd like to come up and discuss this with us, if he has any feelings on this one way or another, but he is in the audience, so I'd like to extend an invitation to Mr. Soper to come up, because I do have a couple of questions just to understand this a little bit better.
Please, no cross debate. There's a request. Councilman, please. There's a motion to invite Mr. Soper.
Second.
I just need a second. Is there a second?
I actually was going to ask the same thing, Mr. President. That's why I have my hand up.
You're next.
Okay. We weren't at the meeting. We're not at the committee meetings.
Okay, Councilman Flohr, you have the floor.
No, it's all right. I'll yield to Councilor McLaughlin. But it was going to be the same thing. I'm going to ask Jim Soper to come up because I feel there's a public safety issue also, and I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not at that. A lot of us are not at those committee meetings.
And just for
the right now,
and maybe
is he coming up or not?
Okay. Time.
Right now, there is a motion on the floor for favorable action. Okay.
And I have a second on mine. So does anybody want to withdraw it? I'm not withdrawing my motion.
The motion has been made and seconded,
I'm not-
it's
I'm not-
before you, you can still ask questions.
Yeah.
There's
I'm not
no,
taking
there's
no motion
nothing that
back.
says you can't
I
ask
didn't make no
questions. So
motion.
you can invite Mr. Soper up and discuss on the motion what your feelings are. That is allowed. That's your right. On the motion, if you'd like to
So if
invite
we
him.
could please have Mr. Soper up.
Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Soper, if you'd please join us. Councilman DeFlorio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Soper,
Unfortunately, I'm
Director of
sorry if I
Inspectional Services.
caused any issues or problems. I wasn't at that meeting, and I honestly haven't had a chance to read the report. I'm not going to lie, I said I read the report, okay? So, the thing is, we had habitability ordinance where you go and inspect the property. Is that still in existence, or is that just removed?
That
What is removed?
That is in existence. Nothing's been
So you're gonna
removed.
go in, you're gonna inspect the property, and that's it. Now, if people are overcrowded, or it has nothing to do with that, is that correct?
No, this is an inspection that occurs prior to occupancy of the apartment.
Okay.
It ensures that the apartment is in compliance with the Mass General Law 127, 111, 127A, which gives the authority to the local Board of Health to appoint inspectors that we have in our Inspectional Services Department to do these inspections. We are trained. We are not cowboys. We follow the regulations. We go through it with a checklist. And if you're in violation of having things like no hot water, no heat, no GFIs, ceilings or roofs leaking, means of egress blocked, these are all things that we make sure get cleaned up before the tenant occupies that. This is a public safety issue. This is about smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. It's a
That's my
very
question. So
important
none of that
service.
is changing.
I'm
If
not,
we
I'm
vote
not
for
quite
this-
sure what the applicant
If we vote for
proponent
this
is asking.
tonight, okay, nothing is changing of what you just explained. The public safety is still there. You go in, you check everything, make sure they have the second means of egress, everything is there. What we're voting on tonight does not change that, is that correct?
I got to say, I'm not clear, Counselor, on what the amendment is
Yeah.
to this
could I?
ordinance. Yes.
Okay, so can we clarify the
Clerk will
amendment?
read, clerk will read the
I
amendment.
can kind of clear it up, because I did meet with Counselor Marchese, and he gave me what he wanted and kind of explained. So the purpose of this is so when an inspector goes into a home, if they're, they go into Unit A, and so I guess, so I was at the committee meeting, if something they feel, the building department, if there's an issue with Unit B, before going into Unit B, unless it was a life-saving type issue, I believe, they would have to get permission from the landlord for further inspections that were out of the realm of what they call common areas. Am I mistaken, or is that correct, right? So any common areas would be fine, which are hallways, if they share a part of the basement, if that's common, and that Unit A also. If there's Units B and C, you can't go to B and C without further permission from the landlord. Is that correct with the amendment? So that's what I got from the amendment, and that's what he is adding.
So if Unit A, if you go to inspect Unit A, and you think there's gonna be a problem with Unit B, you can't go to Unit B.
Correct.
But if Unit B has an electric wire running to Unit A, what happens? That means you can't go in.
We'd be knocking on the door of Unit B that had the extension cord coming out of it and try to find out what is being powered illegally and dangerously by an extension cord. And I'm not quite sure that, I've heard the description that the clerk reads, but I'm not so sure that the language that he wishes to add or subtract from this equals that.
It says any permission, so it doesn't specifically
So
say
it's
anything.
specifying, in other words, the way I hear this, it's specifying that even though there's a wire running down, you are not allowed to go to Unit B unless you call the landlord. Is that correct?
In essence, yeah.
Yes, that's the way that reads.
See, we're allowed under the Mass.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
No cross parade. Councilman
We're
Hanlon?
allowed on the Mass State law.
Okay,
and
one second. Let Mr. Soper answer.
Yeah.
We're allowed on the Massachusetts General Law 111 and local regulations 105 CMR 410, to knock on that door and ask for entry. Under the law, we can do that. We don't ask the homeowner, we don't call the homeowner, we knock on that door where that issue is, and it's up to that tenant if they want to let us in. If they say, we don't want you to come in, we don't come in, unless it's a life safety thing. If it's a life safety thing and I see smoke billowing out, I'm going to call the fire department, and they're going to come in. So we're not encumbered under the law to call the owner of the property and say, can we get in? We need to take care of it right there. That, if we have probable cause, if we establish probable cause, we can have a warrant to enter the next day, with or without the owner telling us. And so we have to have probable cause. We have to say something's wrong here. It's usually an illegal apartment that comes up in these inspections. We knock on the door, we ask for entry. If we're allowed in, then we're allowed to take documentation of what we've seen and enforce based on that. And that's what this is about. So you might, under your ordinances, require me to do that, but the state law supersedes this, and I think you should put this is something that should be put towards the solicitor's office to make sure that you're not superseding Mass General law on our ability to do our job, as well as the Board of Health. We get our power, regulate our authority through the Board of Health. We work as inspectors under the Board of Health. And they should recognize that they want, somehow the council wants the inspectors restricted from doing their job. So I think the Board of Health is an important player in this too, and I don't know that they've been involved in this. So I would believe seeking the recommendation on the legal end from the solicitor and the Board of Health on, is this something that we're going to put into force that's contrary to what our intentions are and what the Mass General law states.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, that was where I was going with this, was whether or not legal counsel has given us any ruling. Because if Mass General law supersedes what we can do, then we're actually not able to enforce this. I'm not opposed to this, but I just don't understand, if we're superseding Mass General laws, we're not affecting any change. We're not able to do anything. So that's why I wanted to know if our city solicitor or Board of Health had an opportunity to give us a rendering or an opinion on this piece. And from what I'm understanding from Mr. Soper, those steps have not been taken. I'd like to hear from the city solicitor, and I don't know if the correct place is tonight, but before we make a vote on this, I think we should understand what we're actually voting on and how it is to be implemented, if it is to be implemented, and if it's legal to be implemented, before we're taking a vote on this. So I think there's still some gray area and some clarification that needs to occur. That's where I was trying to go with my original motion.
Councilman Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just two questions. Is a homeowner required to get an occupancy permit? You have a vacant, you got a two-family house, for instance, and you live in it, well, even if you don't live in it, and it's a pretty nice apartment. Now, what happens is a person moves in, and
It's prior to that person moving in.
is it required
Yes, required.
for every homeowner in the city?
For every homeowner in the city who rents an apartment, whether they inhabit the building or they're not owner occupied, it's required that they have that unit inspected. There's benefits for the owner as well, because you get a certificate saying that we've inspected this, so if there's ever any issues, it's $25. You already have the certificate, you go to court. It's a big benefit, and we have a lot of people complying with this because it is such sharp money. But we make sure that these dangerous issues that somehow, sometimes go unattended by landlords are not unattended, so that we have smokes, we have carbons, we have means of egress out of these places that is safe. And that's, that's the important life safety stuff that we do.
And let me ask you this, how long has this been in play now, this occupancy? I should know this, but...
2003, it looks like 2003.
So every apartment in the city that's been vacant since then has supposedly been inspected.
As long as there's compliance, as long as we have compliance from the owners of the property and they call, And
Well, what if they don't call?
then they're technically in violation of it. So technically, if you've rented an apartment and you haven't gotten this inspection, then you're in violation of the ordinance and you can be fined.
Okay. And my other question is, a one-bedroom apartment, a two-bedroom apartment, a three-bedroom apartment, how many occupants can live in those apartments?
So it's a mathematical thing. So the building code says one person for every 200 square feet, okay? That's the building code. The health code says the first person is 125 square feet, the next person after that is 100 square feet.
So we'll
okay?
say a two-bedroom apartment, how many people?
2 people. It's like 2 people.
Well, I mean, if there's 2 couples, that's 4, right?
Sure, there could be 4, right? It's a size thing. It's a mathematical thing. So those are the things. We're not actually checking who's in there because there's nobody in there when we go.
Well, you know, the intent of the sponsor of this is to protect homeowners who, you know, there are some bad tenants out there. You understand? They, you know, when they start paying the rent and you're behind 3 months, I'm calling the Board of Health on you. I know the routine. I had 20 apartments years ago, and I had nightmares over it. But that's a tool, and the sponsor's right. When you go to the court system, and it's like taking money from a rock. You're not going to get a dime. You got beat.
So you may concur.
And they destroy the apartment on top of it sometimes.
So you may concur that it's valuable for the owner to have our certificate from the city when that tenant doesn't pay the rent and that tenant now is being asked to vacate the apartment, and the tenant calls me and says, I've got all these things wrong. And when we go in there, before we go in there, we have that certificate that says, we were in here a year ago, and this place passed inspection.
And it was
No
clean,
issue.
and you take pictures?
All the time. I have documents of every place we've been.
Well,
We document
It's
everything.
probably a good idea to get the certificate, but when you do the inspection now, I think this is where we're having the problem here.
Sure.
You know, and I understand common areas. That's a hallway,
Right.
the porches, maybe even the basement.
Sure.
But it doesn't include another apartment.
I totally agree with you, 100%.
And that's what I think this is.
Right, and we're not seeking to go into that apartment unless there is an issue that
extension
calls us
cord
to
or
that.
stuff like that.
Yeah, the cord, the detector chirping, water coming out underneath the door, anything like that. That's what would cause us to knock on the door. We should not be passing by dangerous things and doing
Right,
our
no,
job.
I agree with that.
And that's how we eliminate the rodents from neighborhoods. We keep a good eye on this.
And you're good at that, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank you for the information you provided me tonight. I'm going to vote in favor of this, only because of what you've just explained to me. Everybody's required to get you're required.
So a vote for this seems to deter some of the actions that we take.
You may. I think that it's an optional thing, you know. The person should know what they want to do with their property.
The owner should be responsible for providing a habitable, safe residential unit
Right.
for a family
Okay.
to live in. And by keeping this ordinance intact, we do that. By letting this be an option in any way, then it won't get done. And in seeking to deter an inspector from doing his job could be somewhat negligent on part of the city to say, no, I can't go in there. I've been prohibited from that. And when there could be a tenant that comes out and says, can you come and look at this?
Well, I'll give you an example. If I don't know where I'm at with this 5 minutes, but the house.
You're actually just a little bit over. I actually gave you an extra minute. I wasn't.
Thank you, Mr.
watching.
President. That's the first time I've been over in a long time. But anyway, I'm a little.
I'll bring it back to you later on, next time
All right,
you call me
I
out.
think I got my questions answered. Thank you, Mr. Soper. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Councilman Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only want to we don't rise anymore, speak on a point of interest, and that is that the law that we're passing, the ordinance that we're passing, allows Mr. Soper to go into any apartment that's brand new, I mean, not brand new, but being renovated, and a new person is going to come in, or a person requests him to come in. However, if he comes in on apartment A, as we're talking about, and it's 2 more floors upstairs, he has no right to go in there at all because no one has asked him to go in. However, if he sees the cord you were talking about running down, yes, he has a right to go in and inspect that apartment because that's a dangerous situation. If he should hear the information that a fire alarm upstairs is not going to work because it makes that signal that we need a new battery, he has a right to go up and talk to those people. Any kind of a situation that is dangerous to any inhabitants of the place, he has a right to go up there, but he has no right to go up there if there's nothing else going on. He only going into apartment A, can't see anything else wrong, he has no right to go anywhere else. So that's what our ordinance says. That's exactly what the new ordinance says, and that's it. That's the whole thing. Sorry, I wouldn't.
No, thank you.
Council, I've got two other speakers. Councilman DePiero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Stover, based off what Councilor Hanlon just said, so in this instance, you may not be required to go buy an apartment before it's rented. Is that correct?
It sounds like that's the interpretation that Councilor Hanlon has, and I'm not so sure that that's the intent of the change in the ordinance.
The law still says you must.
Okay.
Do a habitable, excuse me, no, that was not the amendment. The ordinance states, the owner must request a legal use of status from the building department of the city of Everett. Then, it further goes, because there is no part 2 of part A, the amendment adds a part 2, which after the owner must request a legal use of status from the building department of the city of Everett. Any permission or denial to expand additional inspections of that property shall not influence any decision of the originally inspected unit, is all it says. So it doesn't say that you may, it does say that you must. The amendment just adds that you need permission and it shall not influence any decision of the original unit that was inspected. That's what the amendment from committee says. But
So-
it does still say the owner must request a legal use. So if you have a multifamily and you rent it,
If
you
there's a
still must.
fire hazard in Unit B, let's say, but that's only affecting Unit B, and there's nothing wrong with Unit A, Unit B goes up, the whole building goes up.
That's right.
So by finding the hazard in B, you can't. I'm not sold on this. Laws are laws to me, and if you have no problems, I don't think you should really be worried. It just kind of seems like a loophole for people to take advantage of the system.
If I interpret the reading, and that will be my job, right? Interpreting the reading of this law when it comes down to direct my department to do this. If I interpret what's being said now, what's really being said is the inspector shall not be prejudiced by anything else he finds outside of the unit that he's been inspecting. Other than that, it still must be done. They pay $25. They don't do it, they get a fine. And I would expect none of my inspectors to be prejudiced in any way, shape, or form to say that we'll take undue action upon somebody because we found something. No, everybody gets treated with respect from my department. That's rule number 1 from my department. And we don't enforce any regulations we can't. And I've had conversations with other councilors about this, and I'll tell you straight out, if I don't have a leg to stand on, I don't try to stand on it. People deserve respect. So we're just talking about not being prejudiced. That's something that's, I think, internal policy, and that's something that doesn't really need to be written into the law. But if that's all you're really asking for, we certainly won't be prejudiced when finding any.
If that's the case, I'm okay with it. I'm just concerned because we do have a responsibility to keep our residents safe. Citing the Morris Street fire as an example, I just don't want to see anyone getting hurt or anything crazy. But if that's all the interpretation is, I'm okay with it, unless you're not, because you're the one that has to roll this out.
And based what I've heard from the reading from the clerk,
that's exactly what.
That's all I intend to do, unless the applicant has any other information that you want to bring forward that I could speak on. But that's just a normal course of business. We will not be prejudiced.
In that case, you change my vote. Thank you.
Councilman Del Sol.
I'm all set. My question was answered. Thank you.
Move with customary thanks. Thank you.
And I
Okay,
can begin the roll
council,
call.
is your pleasure.
On the motion.
Right now, there's a,
That was seconded.
we have a motion for favorable action as amended. It's been seconded. Clerk will read the roll.
Councilor Capone.
Yes.
Councilor Della Sola.
Yes.
Councilor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli. And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
You have passed and you have enrolled item number 12.
Yep.
Is there anybody left on the waiting list?
Yeah, that was enrolled, sorry. That was item 12, no, that's it.
All right, so we'll revert back to the regular order of business. Yep, thank you.
Which is item
Clerk will
number
read
2.
item number 2.
Is an order offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president, that I hereby submit for your consideration in order to accept a donation of $5,000 from Whale Braided to the City of Everett Celebrations donation account.
Accept the donation, letter of thanks.
Second.
Accept donation, favorable action. Clerk will read the roll.
Councilor Capone.
Yes.
Councilor Del Sola.
Yes.
Councilor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Councilor DePiero.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon.
Yes.
Councilor Marchese.
Yes.
Councilor Matusky. Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
You've passed the order. Clerk will read item number 3.
Item number 3 is an order offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. I hereby submit for your consideration an order that the attached furniture and vocational shop equipment from the school department be declared surplus. The referenced inventory is no longer needed. Once declared surplus by this honorable city council, the inventory will be sold at public auction. I will note that the money goes back into the general fund once it's sold.
A motion for favorable action has been seconded. Clerk will read the roll.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Della Sola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council DePiero.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes.
Council Marchese.
Yes.
Council Matusky. Yes. Council McLaughlin. Yes. Council Simonelli. President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
You have passed the order. Clerk will read item number 4.
Item number 4, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin that the parking clerk appear at the next Government Operations Public Service Public Safety meeting. The committee report is to refer this to Legislative Affairs.
Accept committee report and refer to legislative affairs, please.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. You refer that to Legislative Affairs.
Mr. President, can we take items, suspend the rules, take items 5, 9, and 10 collectively?
5. What was the second number? I believe 30 is part of that as well.
9 and 10, yeah, so, yeah, we can discuss it after. That's it.
Clerk will read item number 5. Do I have a second on accepting 5, 9, and 10? All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read the items. Council McLaughlin.
Item number 5 is a resolution Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Peter Napolitano that Dan Cameron of National Grid appear at the next Government Operations Public Safety Public Service meeting to provide an update on both double poles and repair of streetlights in Everett. Just briefly, this states to refer to the mayor's office. The mayor's office has designated me and the assistant city solicitor as a task force that will oversee any double poles and lights out going forward. So you will see me, along with an inspector, we're starting to catalog them as we speak, make sure what lights are out. So I do request that if you see any out, that you please call my staff or Keith Slattery of the Assistant City Solicitor, so we can help log in this issue, and we'll track it and work in conjunction with the state law and the city law ordinances to find these people if they're keeping double poles longer than they're supposed to. We are literally the pole task force, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
The double pole task.
Might be easier to refer lights that are on versus the ones that are off.
Did I say off?
No, you had it right.
Oh,
I was being sarcastic.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Chairman, on the motion.
Councilman Hanlon?
I just want to ask, I understand what the meaning of this is and everything, but what happens to the years and years and years of requests that we've had? I just don't want to start over again. We've given these number of poles that are double poles forever and ever. Number of lights are out, number of the poles have been down. We've been doing this for such a long time, I kind of forget what we've done. And I don't want to start this procedure all over. I want to call
that's
them
right.
in.
What's happened, from the chair, if I could, we had Mr. Cameron here at Public Safety. Was it Public Safety? Yeah, and they pulled the reports, and they've identified that there were more lights out than they were anticipating. The mayor's office, through the 311 service, has also identified, I believe, 147. So this collaboration is a result of being able to track those down. There is documentation, both with National Grid and the mayor's office. The problem is that somewhere along the line, something's fallen through the cracks. So they're consolidating the list, they're working together, and now this committee, with the city clerk and the city solicitor, will pursue this.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, but the point is, my request has fallen through the cracks 8 times.
You're not alone.
The same light.
You're not alone.
And now these guys are saying, what, if we start this all over, we'll help you? I doubt
No,
it.
no. It's not starting it over. It's working on the list that we've already submitted and creating some action on it.
I want to tell you something else, too, and I never wanted to say this, but they lied to us. When we were going hot and heavy with this double pole incident, they came and they reported to us. We took down 25 double poles. Great. But you know what double poles they were? The ones they just did on 2nd Street. They were all the way down. They were double poles. They took them out in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What about the ones we've been asking for years and years and years?
We had Mr. Cameron up here, and I would encourage.
I don't object to the job that they want to do over here. That's good, But I'm just trying to say that we've been cheated for years by National Grid. Really been cheated, because I have a light across to my house for 5 years that has, and all it is the light. It's not the pole. A car hit it. The light fell down. Go fix the damn light.
Yeah, I can assure you, when we had Mr. Cameron here, nobody pulled any punches. Believe me, we're just as frustrated over the situation. In fact, Council McLaughlin gave them back that broken light that a resident had brought up to us at our last meeting.
Yeah.
So believe me, he was justifiably embarrassed. But
okay.
The thing is that we're gonna. This is something that I agree. We've put the spotlight on him. We're gonna follow up on this. I would not just take it at their word that they're gonna get done, because the lights being turned on or repaired is the proof.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think,
Mr. Chairman, you know that when he has been before us, I have said many times to him that I'm not voting for another thing that you come out on with until these lights are fixed. They never fixed them, but I didn't want to harm the people that were coming up, asking for the permit.
no, he was I hate to speak from the chair, but the one thing that I did threaten them with is that this body is prepared to do a 6-month moratorium.
No, I just hope something works.
Okay, so we will, if we need to resort to that, we'll resort to that.
Yeah.
Councilman DeFlorio.
Mr. President, I've been up here for a long time, and I listened to this years after years after years. We don't trust National Grid, and I say that very clear and very loud, because it's a monopoly. So people come over here, we feel bad, and we give them the permit because we don't want the business person to suffer. There's got to be a different way. The Department of Public Utilities. It's time we refer everything to the Department of Public Utilities, because they oversee National Grid. We don't trust National Grid anymore. That's the bottom line. We've been doing this how many years? Okay, so we have the task force, which is fine, but they shouldn't be doing this. Our people in the city should not be doing this for the bills that we pay to National Grid. Shame on them. Okay? So my thinking is, that's fine, we have the task force. I agree with it. I asked for it. Thank you very much. Taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. But at the same time, once the task force comes out and tells us there's 150 lights out, pole number 365, we've already done this. They're not fixing them.
I think the reason they did the task force was because when they pulled the numbers and when 311 pulled the numbers, showed 147 complaints, they didn't go anywhere.
Mr. Chairman,
So
we're
where they're gonna
debating
go
and
now?
accepting a
Let's
committee
not-
report. Can we
Yeah.
take action?
Well, actually, point of order.
We were gonna
We're
go
supposed
now.
to take all the items collectively, so we only got through one. We have 2 more to read
Absolutely.
before we get into all this angst.
Yep.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine that we have 10 more to read. Everybody's entitled to talk here as long as they want.
Okay. So what's your pleasure?
We still need to read two
I gotta
pieces,
read
Mr.
9 and
President.
10.
That's right.
Item number 9, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon that the ISD Director, Mr. Jim Soper, appear at the next meeting to discuss permitting fees for contractors that work on city streets or residents' driveways doing hot pavement. And item number 10, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon that Ms. Gregory, Ms. Dr. Easy, Mr. Longo, and Mr. Sapino appear at our next meeting to discuss the feasibility of a 24/7 parking program and several other parking issues.
Move to accept the committee reports and refer to the mayor's office for action.
The only thing is that the item 5 is with the amendment to add it also to me, but the other ones were all, it's all to the mayor's office, but item 5 to amend it
So let's
also
vote
to
on
me
the amendment first
and the
to
assistant
amend
solicitor.
item number 5.
So moved.
To refer to the city clerk and the city solicitor. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is to accept the committee reports and refer to the mayor's office for action.
On 9 and 10, all those in favor? Oops, sorry, Mr.
9 and
President.
10.
It's
I took your
okay.
job.
It's all right, you can have it. We'll trade salaries, too. All right, all in favor?
It's funny tonight, huh? Aye.
Correct.
I'll take it.
Shecky.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
Mr. President, this move to suspend the rules, take items 6, 7, and 8 collectively.
Okay. Clerk will read items number 6, 7, and 8 collectively. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item number 6, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin that Mr. Greg St. Louis appear at the next government operations meeting to discuss the signage across the city. Item 7, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin to invite National Grid to the next government operations committee meeting to discuss the safety of the city's national grid infrastructure. And item number 8, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon and Peter Napolitano that the mayor and the chief of police appear at the next government operations public safety meeting to discuss the creation and of a reserve list for the police. Please invite the patrolman union rep, supervising union rep, auxiliary police rep, and sponsor of this resolution. They were all committee reports were to refer back to sponsor.
Accept the committee reports, refer back to sponsor.
The motion to accept the committee reports, refer back to sponsor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read number 11.
Mr. President, move we suspend the rules, take items number 11 and 13 collectively.
We have a motion to take items number 11 and 13 collectively. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read the items.
It was 11 and 13, Mr. President. Item number 11, Mr. President, is ordinance offered by Councilor Michael Marchese and Councilor Fred Capone to prohibit any contracts from obtaining any contracts or permits from the city of Everett while a public contracted project they are working on for the city is delayed, unfinished, or over contracted budget. Item 13, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Fred Capone, an ordinance for an open-air storage or area storage of salt and other items. Both were granted further time in committee.
Accept the committee reports, grant further time in committee.
Accept the committee reports. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On the motion, Council Hanlon?
The word, the problem is the word unfinished. I mean, what if they're doing 4 projects, or 3 projects, or 2 projects for the city of Everett?
Okay, well,
That's
Councilman,
gonna be unfinished.
you're in this committee, right? You're in legislative affairs, and it's staying in committee?
It's going to stay for you to
That
discuss.
That would be the place to make the change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know it's there, but
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Granted further time? I know.
Yeah, I didn't, my bad, I just. Item number 14, I'm just gonna go. Mr. President, item number 14 is ordinance offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council that Section 3-33, keeping hens, poultry of the revised ordinance of the city of Everett be amended as follows. There was an amendment proposed by the Board of Health and voted on in favor. It looks like there is a committee report that states, just give me one moment to read get the committee report, please. I believe it's a repeal. I just want to get the. Here it is. The report, the committee voted to report back to the City Council with a recommendation to repeal in its entirety Section 3-33, keeping hens and poultry.
Councilman Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. The majority of the council voted to refer out to repeal. The danger we got to be careful with is that you'll have nothing in place. At that meeting, clerk of committees provided some language from an ordinance similar to the city of Malden with an eye towards eliminating the ability to maintain fowl and livestock on site. So what I would like to do is accept the committee report and refer the item and the language to the planning board to determine whether or not they want us to implement an ordinance or if they have something else in mind.
Is that because it's a zoning change
Yeah.
that you're looking at? Okay.
Yeah.
For the second? Okay, we have a motion to refer this to the planning board. It's been seconded.
With
All-
the, with the thing to repeal
Okay,
it?
yeah, I need it. Yeah, I need to send it to them, yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, it's going to be opposed?
Aye, or no?
The ayes have it.
Wait, what has it?
You're referring it to the planning board.
Okay.
Right. Clerk will read item number 17.
18, Mr. President.
We took 17?
Yeah, we
Yes,
took
yes,
them
yes,
separately.
yes, yes, that's right.
Item number 18, Mr. President, is an order by Council Peter Napolitano as president that the following DPW vehicles be declared surplus and auctioned off because of the costly repairs to each vehicle. Number 1, 2007 Ford Taurus. Number 2, 2012 Dodge Charger. Number 3, Ford F-550. Number 4, 1997 Ford Louisville. Number 5, 1997 Ford Louisville. Number 6, 2007 Dodge Charger. Number 7, 2013 Yamaha Parker.
Favorable action.
Do I have a second?
Thank you.
Councilman Hamlin.
Can we find out who does the auction? We almost just passed another one this evening about that too, and I want to ask that question, but I didn't, I forgot to do it.
I don't know what company.
Who's gonna do the auction?
It's posted legally in accordance with Mass General laws in our procurement office. I don't know the company, but I know the city doesn't personally auction it off.
I know they
There
don't.
is, yeah, I don't know the I honestly don't know the company. I can probably find out for you, and I'll just call you with the information if you'd like. Yep.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Mr. President, I'm just kind of curious. I don't know if my colleague can answer this or not, but a 2012, 2013 vehicle we're surplusing already. It's like just several years ago. I'm sure all of us have, 2012, 2013 vehicles. I don't know if one of my colleagues can answer it, but it just seems so rapid turnover.
There's a specific reason for the Dodge Charger that I'm not going to state, and I'm not sure about the Yamaha Parker, but there is a few reasons for the
They said
2012
the
Dodge
motor
Charger.
seized on the boat.
Yeah, on the Parker?
Yeah.
And the motor seized on the boat, so that was the
The
reason.
motors seized on them?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, honestly, I'm just kind of baffled. A 1997, sure, no problem at all. It's time to go, absolutely. But 2012, 2013 vehicle just seems like it's, I don't know. I'll vote for it, no problem. I'm just baffled by the year that the make of these vehicles.
Keep in mind, Counselor, a 2012 vehicle is still a 6-year-old vehicle.
And it's a
In the
police
use
vehicle.
of municipal service, I'm sure it
It's a
has
police,
some wear and
it's a
tear.
frontline police vehicle that
And if it's a
ran
police
24 hours a
vehicle,
day.
even more so. Counsel Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the piece, I think what would be beneficial for us as elected officials watching over the taxpayers' money, it would be good to know where the vehicle or whatever item that is considered surplus, where it ends up and how much it was purchased for. I'd like to get a report on that, on anything that we do going forward.
There's a motion to amend it. So the motion is for favorable action with amendment to ask for a report back on what the final disposition was purchase price, so on and so forth. Purchaser. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read the roll for the order as amended.
Next item is... What is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not call the roll? There you go. Counselor Capone.
Yes.
Counselor Del Sola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFloria. Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor DeFloria. Yes. Counselor Marchese.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President. You have passed.
Thank you. You have passed the order. Clerk will read item number 22.
Item number 22, Mr. President, is an ordinance offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council, an ordinance to modify the fees for licenses and permits issued under the authority of the City Council.
This has been enrolled. This is now in for ordainment.
Favorable action?
I have a motion for favorable action, seconded. Clerk will read the roll.
Councilor Capone.
Yes.
Councilor Del Sola.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilor DeFloria. Councilor DePiero.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon.
Yes.
Councilor Marchese.
Yes.
Councilor Matusky.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, you're ordained.
You have ordained item number 22. Clerk will read item number 23.
Item number 23 is an ordinance offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council that the revised ordinances of the City of Everett be amended as follows. Section 12-47 is hereby amended by deleting this section in its entirety and replacing it with the following garage, Section 12-47 garage licenses.
Favorable action?
Okay, favorable action's been seconded. This is also in for ordainment. Clerk will read the roll.
Councilor Capone.
Yes.
Councilor Della Sola.
Yes.
Councilor DeFloria.
Yes.
Councilor DePiero.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon.
Yes.
Councilor Marchese.
Yes.
Councilor Matusky.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin. Councilor Simonelli. President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, you have ordained the ordinance.
Clerk will read item number 24.
Item number 24, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael K. Marchese that the city limit future residential construction developments to 25% below the market rate for rentals.
If I may explain this, please.
Yeah, please.
Yep, all right. I believe that we have a mandatory 10% when we build all the new apartments. This 25%, what it does is prevents, if this residential construction development goes down tanks, we're not stuck with, 600 families with 2 or 3 kids, so we have to build new schools. What this does is limit the amount of below development market rate for rentals. Do I know if we can do this? I'm not sure, but it's something to think about. It's something, I believe it would be the whole city, any future development that's being built. Even though it's mandatory 10%, we have to have it, which, isn't bad, but if there's an empty building, park, exactly, and look at the amount of kids we can end up with in the city. So it's just something, hopefully keeps us building a new school. I don't know where we'd send this. What's that? Where? Mayor? Just make a motion, we send it to the mayor.
Not for it to come back, just to
Yeah.
end it with him, go and to make a decision on
Yes.
on it. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor McLaughlin, did you have your hand up?
No, Mr. President, I appreciate Councilor Marchese's explanation. I was a little confused on it. That's why. Thank you.
was too.
Okay, we motion to refer item 24 to the mayor's office. Do I have a second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 26.
Item number 26, Mr. President, is an order offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president that the amount of $9,380,000 be appropriated by borrowing as requested in the CIP general fund budget.
This is on the agenda in error. This is actually
No
still in
action
committee, so it is still in committee.
Wasn't it supposed to go to Ways and Means?
It's in Ways and Means.
No, wasn't it supposed to go to a committee of the whole? There was reconsideration on it. Yeah, I reconsidered it.
Mr. President, this piece is in the Ways and Means Committee.
This committee is still in, this piece is still in Ways and Means.
And that meets Monday. If anybody's interested, we meet Monday at 6 o'clock, October 15th. So if anybody's interested, can I?
Ways
speak
and
on this?
Means is meeting on Monday night at 6 o'clock. If you have interest in, or you have some feedback on this piece, I would encourage you to attend.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Clerk will read item number 28.
Item number 28 is an order offered by Councilor Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Everett and by the authority of the same as follows, that in accordance with the provisions of the general laws of Massachusetts, the City Clerk and Elections Commission be and is hereby authorized and directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the City of Everett qualified to vote as the law requires, to assemble at the several polling places for and within the several precincts where they are duly registered voters on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, for the state election, then and there to give in their votes for the election of candidates of political parties for the following offices and the following on.
Favorable action.
Second motion.
A motion for favorable action, seconded. Clerk will read the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsellor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsellor DePiero.
Yes.
Counsellor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsellor Marchese.
Yes.
Counsellor Matusky.
Yes.
Counsellor McLaughlin. Counsellor Simonelli. President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
You have passed the order. Clerk will read item number 29.
Item number 29. Mr. President, is an order offered by Council Peter A. Napolitano as president. Be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Everett, Massachusetts, as follows: that the polls be open from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening, and the City Clerk and Elections Commission to cause all voting places to be properly fitted for the state election, Tuesday, November 6, 2018. Ordered further, that the following places are designated as the places for the above-mentioned state election, Tuesday, November 6, 2018.
Favorable action.
Second motion.
We have a motion for favorable action, seconded. Clerk will read the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
Counsel Marchese.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin. Counsel Simonelli. And President Napolitano.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
You have passed the order. Clerk will read item number 30.
Item number 30. Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Rosa DeFlorio that the mayor put a committee together to see how many lights are out in the city of Everett.
Councilman
Yes, the mayor's
DeFlorio.
already done that, so I'll make a motion to refer it back to sponsor.
Second.
We have a motion to refer back to sponsor, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 31.
Item number 31, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilors John Leo McKinnon, Wayne Matusky, Stephen Simonelli, and Michael Marchese, that the Everett Police Department step up efforts to get rid of the bad element that are hanging around the Walgreens parking lot, to make it safer for elderly shoppers as well as the general public.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to add myself to the piece.
Second? Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilman McKinnon is not here this evening, and him and I, and of course, Councilman Marchese and DePiero have discussed, and Councilman Simonelli, all had a discussion at various times over the phone and so forth. I'd like to postpone this till our next meeting, and Councilman McKinnon would like to address this whole issue.
On that motion, could we also include the 7-Elevens, the 24-hour 7-Elevens?
Second the motion.
You know, this Walgreens and the 24-hour 7-Elevens.
There's a motion to amend item 31 include 7-Elevens. Second.
I gotta
All in
fi-
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
It's horrible.
We have a motion to postpone to the next meeting. Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 32.
Item number 32, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor John Leo McKinnon and Wayne Matusky that Mr. Robert DeSalvio of Encore Boston Harbor appear at our next meeting to discuss the need for a pedestrian footbridge over Route 99 Lower Broadway.
I'd like to amend this by adding Councilwoman DeFlorio. Actually, all members except for Councilman Hanlon and Della Sola, who weren't at this particular meeting, when we initially put this pedestrian. I want to add the entire city council, if that's okay.
I'm fine with that.
Well, we'll have to amend that first. Then I'd just like to speak briefly on it.
So let's amend it first. So there's a motion to amend this to include the entire city council. Has been seconded. Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Council Matusky?
Thank you,
have the floor.
Mr. President. This evening, we heard from Mr. Taco, who is the Community Relations Director for Encore, and he has filled us in on a lot of good things that are happening with the casino. However, we all feel, and I know I've discussed this with a lot of different people, that this pedestrian, there's 7, I said at the last meeting there was 6 crosswalks. There's actually 7. From the Rotary to the Alfred Street Bridge. There might even be 8 if you include the front of Exelon. But anyway, right now, as you go by, there was a guy walking a dog, and he lives down the line, I would imagine, or he was visiting somebody, whatever. And 50 cars each way was stopped. Now, the other day, there was nobody at the crosswalk, and the light stopped, and everything stopped. So I know that they got to fix these lights, but we need to have a pedestrian overpass. And I just want to, and it's so unfortunate that the Alfred Street Bridge has really put a wrench into the whole thing after 4 or 5 years doing that little bridge over. They got to put new rivets in or whatever the heck they're doing there. It's unreal, and it's really, But anyway, to make a long story short, Mr. DeSalvo is a reasonable man. He is the president and CEO of this project. I'd like to lay this over to the second meeting in November, which gives us some more time to think about the whole process and see how the sidewalks are coming out and so forth. So I'd like to lay this on the table to postpone to the second meeting in November. And I want to thank my colleagues and yourself, Mr. President. We all feel the same way. We need a pedestrian overpass. I just can't, I know these guys are experts, and they're doing a great job on this beautiful high-rise $2.7 billion project. But I can't see people getting from one side of Broadway to the other side of Broadway without pressing the pedestrian and stopping traffic. I don't know how that's going to happen. Maybe they can answer this question. That's why the second meeting in November. I think that would be.
Councilman, first of all, we can only postpone till the next meeting. What if I can make a suggestion? Let's invite him to that meeting. Postpone this to the next meeting. We'll postpone it again until that meeting.
That works.
That way, you're giving him the ample amount of time.
All right.
That your system.
As long as the clerk doesn't invite him to the next meeting.
I'm sorry.
We're going to postpone this continually till the end of November.
Yeah,
and hopefully by then, the crosswalks will be there'll be some new activity, new sidewalks. We'll know exactly where these crosswalks are going to be. So that, is that reasonable?
One second.
Well, they're pouring new sidewalks. The new residents to the Charlton Backyard will say. Then you've got the mess in front of the old Mike's Roast Beef.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules, and we'll postpone it until the second meeting in November.
That's fine. I just wanted to.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All due respect, Council, again, we're just trying to get some things cleared up because during our parliamentary procedure classes, we were told one thing. The membership has a little different feeling. I believe there was some discussion in committee tonight about that, which can be amended in committee to our rules to reflect that. So,
and I just made a motion to suspend the rules and postpone it till our second meeting in November. And it accomplishes the same thing.
Oh, good. Okay.
Inviting him to that meeting.
All right, that gives him plenty of time, and our clerk will invite him to our regular council meeting. Okay, thank you very much. That works for me. Okay.
All right, so we have a motion before us to suspend the rules and invite him to the last meeting in November, sending an invitation now. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I agree, it's a little, it's...
Perfect.
That's why I was trying to come up with
Item number 33, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael McLaughlin and Councilor Stephen Simonelli that the Traffic Commission consider placing a three-way stop sign on the corner of Union Street and Irving Street due to many accidents in the area.
Council McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I was contacted by some of the area residents and spoke with Councilor Simonelli. One block over on the corner of Florence Street in Nichols Street, they have a three-way stop sign. At this intersection, you come down Irvin Street to the intersection of Nichols, Union, excuse me, and you continue to go straight through while cars are going northbound and southbound on Union Street. So if you can stop them as they do on the intersection of Florence and Union Street, so that there's a three-way stop there. There is going to relieve the traffic. I have some photos I'll submit to traffic. There's been 2 bad accidents there in the last week at that intersection, very closely to the house getting hit, and on the other side, a telephone pole got hit by a car 2 days before that. So I'd like to refer this to traffic and ask them for a rapid response to rectify the situation for area residents.
You want them
Council, for some clarification, so right now, the stop sign is on Irving Street before going on Union, okay? And, okay, previous block before that at Florence is already a four-way stop sign, okay? So just keep in mind, the intent of Union Street was for a free flow of traffic to Ferry Street. You're now interrupting it, if that's your suggestion.
It is my suggestion only because what I saw in the last week, and again, I have some photos to show the impact of 2 severe accidents that could have been prevented if cars on Union Street had stopped before intersecting with that Irvin Street.
All right, so there's a motion to refer this to the Traffic Commission.
And
All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
That's for action, for them to act because they have full authority, right? We're not having them come back.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Clerk will read item number 34.
Item number 34, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Council Rosa DeFlorio that the Department of Public Utilities come to Everett and check the National Grid utility poles to make sure they are safe.
Councilman DeFlorio.
Mr. President, I spoke to the building inspector, doing a little research on this, because if anybody watched the news the last couple of weeks, you know, with no storms, no hurricane, no tornado, electric poles with live wires falling on people's cars. So we have an issue. All right, we have an issue with lights. We have an issue with poles. We don't know if the poles are safe. So when someone comes here, whether it's Comcast, whether it's Verizon, they come in front of us. We give them the okay to put up these wires. Nobody's inspecting those poles. So when you build a house, you build it from the foundation. The building inspector comes and he inspects the foundation. When these poles were built, the engineer and whoever inspected those poles were built based on one cord going on there. Now there's 100 of them, and if you see a lot of the poles, there's a lot of wires on there. So I don't know if it's the right decision for the public utility people, but I want, in other words, when the people come in front of us, Verizon wants to add wires because 3 new houses were built. I want someone to tell me that that pole is safe. Where does it go?
I actually have.
Because nobody gets a permit.
So,
For
just so
that
you know, the last meeting, the 24th, you accepted Massachusetts General Laws 44, 53G, and 53G and a half. This was a recommendation by our CFO after discussion with Greg St. Louis and a few other department heads, and I had a meeting with them. And we found that there is something that allows, so I'm your agent, me as your agent, when you pass something, when someone wants to put something on poles, do conduit work, or, you know, add those things on the top of the poles, that they issue us a bond, okay, to make sure the work is done correctly. So if I send out the engineer, or if I go out, or if somebody with the knowledge sees that something's done incorrectly and they do not want to adhere to it, we have money in an account that we can send out and make sure it's done correctly, or to take it down and revoke their
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is the pole sturdy enough to hold the wires? So you're saying the engineer's gonna go out, but if that pole falls and kills someone, that's fine that you have a bond.
The bond is to make sure everything is done in compliance and that everything is safe. That is the point of it.
So that it can also hold the weight of whatever they're
For
putting
everything,
up.
so it's just making sure that in general, that everything is in compliance, right? So that if it's sturdy, it's safe, they've fixed it correctly, that there is no impediments to our community. That's what the intent of that piece is for. I mean, I'm,
Okay,
Council
so that-
Capone, I think, read it with me, but
So that's gonna come in front of us.
you've already passed it. You've passed it, now I have that authority. You gave me that authority.
Okay.
And you gave a lot of departments it, but
So when
I'm
someone
one of
comes to us, if they're building a house down Lower Broadway, whatever, and they're putting the pole, existing pole, they're putting the wires and everything, the engineer's gonna go out and check all that.
Someone, and if-
Before we give the authority for them to put up those wires.
Yeah, we can do that also, I'm sure. But this is also to make sure, and when they do the work, everything is in
I want to know that
compliance.
that pole is safe before I give them the authority. Because when the people come over here, what happens is, we don't want to hold back the work, because if we hold back the work, the casino's not going to open on time. This isn't going to happen, the contractor can't do this. So I want to make sure that that pole is safe before the item comes in front of us.
Then you'd have to send somebody to do it. I mean, I obviously don't have the knowledge, so you'd have to send someone else.
So that's what I'm saying.
So what is your pleasure on this? What are you looking to do?
What I'm looking to do is get the city engineer or someone to go out, put a rule together, or put an ordinance together, I don't know. What do you do?
Well, the resolution is that the Department of Public Utilities, that's a state agency,
Right.
come to Everett and check the National Grid utility poles to make sure they're safe.
Yeah,
Okay.
but,
That's the resolution.
yes, I understand what the resolution is. But speaking with Jim Soper tonight, all right, he's telling me that these poles are never, they're not inspected. In other words, they just come over here and they just put the wires. So I want to change to take the public utility out, refer it to the public safety, and let's put an ordinance together where they have to come in front of us before we give them the okay.
If I may, if you want to put an ordinance together, I think the proper place would be legislative affairs.
Legislative affairs, correct.
Yeah. But government operations,
Yeah, what you asked for.
I want to discuss the
I've got
safety,
one person ahead of you.
to get the idea.
Okay. Councilman Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilwoman Roser is right on target. National Grid is in a serious public relations debacle right now with the strikers, with the gas workers. You saw what happened in Lawrence. As a matter of fact, I got a phone call tonight. You're going to love this, from National Grid. Of course, it come up as Essex, whatever that means, on my caller ID, Essex, not National Grid. Thank you for paying your bill on time. Now it's thank you for paying your bill on time, and they want to offer some kind of program. They are in a public relations debacle. We got light fixtures falling off of light poles. There was a man here with a large light the other day, could have hit somebody. They were out of control. We're like a third world nation to them. We don't need any committee. We need the mayor to send a couple of city workers around to every pole, ward by ward, find out what is exactly out. According to National Grid, there's 62 lights that are out. And then according to Mr. Luongo in 311, the director of 311, he says there's over 130. There's a big difference there. We had 52 lights out on the Parkway, as you all recall. 52! And 10 poles missing that have been knocked down by trucks. They're not doing, Mr. Cameron is a very nice guy. And there's a reason why he gets paid a lot of money, because, and he's a public relations specialist. I've known him for years. We are getting the runaround here, and, it's enough is enough. So whatever committee this goes to, let's really do it right. I have no problem with a city worker going around spending 2 weeks all over this city, checking every single light pole. Tell us how many double poles we got left. We may only have 25 or 50. I don't know. How many lights are out? I want a report back, and I want National Grid to pay for the services that our city is providing to do this work. We can't trust them to do it anymore. We have unsafe fixtures all over the city. There's wires hanging down off of some of these poles, too, I've noticed recently. And it's not even winter time yet. National Grid is, as I said, they have a big public relations problem with the gas part of this. We're talking about the electrical. These guys have been on strike for 3 months now, 4 months. They got, it's just a mess. So whatever committee this goes to, I hope that, I want a real comprehensive report, Mr. President, on what exactly exists in this city. I mean, this is over the top now. And I'll never forget the excuse they used with the pallet of bad bulbs. Oh, we got a shipment of bad bulbs. Come on. And remember they were blinking and so forth? I haven't figured it out yet. We've spent a lot of time on this, and I apologize. I know I'm one of the culprits. Councilman Hanlon is,
And I would remind everybody, too, that we had Mr. Cameron here last week in public safety, and your sentiments were voiced very strongly to him.
Well, I saw that.
And the fact that we are going to bring them back in 30 days, and
but
if there's no reaction, we're going to do
the inspections. I'd like to have our city workers do it, and then back charge National Grid for the time that the work is put into it and the paperwork that's involved and the gas for the trucks. Go ward by ward and give us a report. Excuse me? Oh, you're doing? Oh, the city clerk has just informed me. He's personally doing this?
As was stated earlier, the mayor has formed a task force with the city solicitor and the city clerk. So yes.
Oh, I see. Oh, so that's going to take place.
Yes.
Ward by ward, street by street, everything but the casino area, because that's under construction.
I've already began.
Oh, sure, you're on top of things.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Okay.
Motion to refer to the clerk. Thank you, Mr. President. The city clerk is correct that with the acceptance of the statute, it's going to take care of this problem going forward. The bond will help because when they go and do the work, if they don't do it right, the bond's available to go get it done right. So that's going to take care of that. As my other colleagues were talking about with the double poles and the existing, that's already in place. City clerk's already working on it, so that's great.
One speaker, please.
This particular piece is very good, and what's getting lost in here is that we have a lot of poles that are leaning almost parallel to the street. So rather than put it in the committee, what I would recommend, if the sponsor's okay with it, I would refer it to the engineer's office and the mayor's office to have them appoint whoever the proper folks are, because Department of Public Utilities is going to come to Everett for us. But internally, we can go take a look at these, because there are so many poles, and we've all seen them. There are so many poles in this community that I worry are going to come down at any time. I'm not an engineer. I don't know, the whole structure on it, but if we could refer it over to the city engineer and the mayor's office, have them go around and inspect the poles, and if there's anything that's unsafe, have it addressed. I think that would be the proper thing to do.
Council McLaughlin.
Mr. President, just briefly, understanding that there's a new committee that has been appointed, can the clerk just tell us who else serves on this committee for poles and lights?
Yeah. It's myself and the assistant city solicitor, Keith Slattery.
Sweet.
And we're also going to have an inspector from ISD, because they have cameras and cars, and we don't have that.
Okay.
So there'll be three of us.
I'm going to talk to you about this after. Okay.
Councilman Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a suggestion, and that is that we should ask the Department of Public Utilities, how do you check a pole to make sure that it's safe? Because I don't think there's anyone that works for the city of Everett can tell you how to do that. I don't think anyone that works for National Grid can tell you to do that. The pole is standing up straight, yeah, it's safe. But we don't know for sure. Is the pole rotted inside or anything, whatever it is? We don't do anything, no, nothing. Just have the clerk send a letter to the public utilities, Massachusetts Public Utilities, and ask them what's the best way to show that a utility pole is safe. That's all. And if they'll come back and they'll tell us how to do that, then we can inform our people how to do the right way.
I think that's prudent.
So,
All right, so the motion then is to send a letter to the...
I have referred to them.
Let us know.
how?
You want to do what the piece says?
Ask them for a response.
No, wait a minute.
How you check a
Well,
bill?
you people keep changing everything, so let's go back to the public
Folks,
utility.
I will call a break at 10 o'clock regardless, so,
Because,
it's on you.
Not to come and check,
Please, go ahead.
not to come to Everett, but to give us a recommendation on how we check to see if a light pole is safe.
Do Do I have a second?
And on
Now-
that, I think we should also refer it to the mayor's office and the engineer's office. They know
Absolutely.
That's fine.
what's happening.
That's fine.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor on the
Aye.
amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. On the resolution, all in favor?
Aye.
As amended? Opposed? You've passed it. Clerk will read item number 35.
Item number 35, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Stephen Simonelli to have the Director of the CHA appear at the next Government Operations meeting to discuss ways of opening up more parking spaces at Whitten Hospital.
Councilman Matusky, on behalf of Councilman Simonelli.
Yes, Councilman Simonelli is requesting to send this to Public Safety and Public Service.
Second?
Okay, asking them to appear?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. The invitation would be for the Director. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 36.
Item number 36, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Stephen Simonelli that the CFO appear at the next council meeting to explain why the retirement fund is underfunded.
Mr. President, on behalf of Councilman Simonelli, he would like to have Mr. Dumas appear at the next council meeting to explain this item.
Okay, I have a motion to refer this to the next council, to postpone this to the next council meeting, inviting the CFO to appear. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item number 37.
Final item, number 37, Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael McLaughlin, Fred Capone, and Richard Delasola that the DPW remove the landscaped areas in the community lot on Floyd Street to add additional parking spots for residents.
Mr. President, can we refer this to Public Service and invite up Mr. St. Louis, please?
Aye.
Mr.
Motion to
Chairman,
adjourn?
before we adjourn, if I may, I just want to recognize my friend and colleague, Councilor Simonelli, just come up on 3 years cancer-free, and I think it's well worth a round of applause.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. It's been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.